A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
You are lying helpless in a rude hut in the deep interior of China, not knowing how you got there or why. And before you see the face of a beautiful girl and the hard, ruthless figure of a guerrilla chieftain. And you know that in this room there is danger for you, perhaps death.
We offer you Escape, transcribed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure. Today we escape to China and the story of a man who lost his memory and almost his life. As James Norman told it in his fascinating story, He Who Rides the Tiger.
The figures and faces would come and go. Sometimes I seem to be floating along with them through endless space, but more often I could feel myself lying on a hard bed and watching, not moving, with sick and fevered eyes. And there was a big man with brown skin and close-cropped hair, and an older man with a white coat. But best of all was the girl, a beautiful girl. Usually her face would dissolve into a great lotus flower that would hang for a moment in the air and then float slowly beyond reach of my thoughts and disappear. Part of this was a dream, of course, and part reality, but I was unable to separate one from the other. How long it went on, it's impossible for me to say. I had no sense of the passage of time. One morning, though, I opened my eyes and looked at the bare walls of the room. The white-haired man sitting by my cot, the other man sitting a few feet away smoking a cigarette. And then I knew that the dreams had gone away and would not come back. This was reality.
Feeling better? Can you hear me? Understand me?
Huh? Yes. Yes, of course.
Good. Glad you're finally coming out of it. You've been a very sick man, you know.
Where am I?
Fenyang Mission Hospital. We're about 600 miles south of Beijing.
That's impossible. How did I get here?
Walked in. Dropped unconscious in the courtyard, burning up with fever and suffering from malnutrition.
Malnutrition? I ate lunch yesterday in Beijing.
I'm afraid I'll have to contradict you. You've been here for 2 months.
I don't understand.
Doctor, I wondered if I could ask your patient a question. Why, yes, of course. It's simply this. What is your name?
It's Armour. David Armour.
Ah, yes. So you told us while you were delirious, but we could not be sure. And your business in Beijing, Mr. Armour?
I'm a member of the International Committee on Chinese Art Treasures. We've been investigating the policy of the advancing Japanese armies for protecting and preserving art objects in newly conquered territories.
I see. And yesterday, you ate lunch in Beijing?
Yes, at the Wagonly Hotel. I dropped my wife off at the... Adrian. Well, where is she? Where's my wife?
Mrs. Armour is in San Francisco at present.
San Francisco? Well, why what's this all about? Who are you and what am I doing here? Why am I...
Mr. Armour, please. Mr. Quinto, I think any further questioning had better be postponed until tomorrow. Mr. Armour is in no condition for it. I quite agree with you, Doctor. Very well, Mr. Armour. Until tomorrow, then.
Doctor, I don't understand. Who is this Mr. Quinto? What does he want?
Well, he's a powerful man among the Chinese. He's been following your condition very closely. I don't know what he wants.
If I could only remember what happened. I've got to send word to my wife, to Adrian, to the American consul. My wallet, my passport and papers. Do you have them?
Oh, Mr. Armour, when you arrived here, you were wearing a cast-off uniform of the Japanese Army.
What?
You had no papers or identification. There was nothing in your pockets except this. I haven't told Mr. Quinto about it.
It's a little porcelain figurine. A rabbit.
Yes, a rabbit. Does it mean anything to you?
No, I never saw it before in my life.
That's too bad. I was hoping it might help you remember.
The last thing I remember is that lunch in Peiping. Seems like yesterday, and yet you told me it was 2 months ago.
Oh, no. I said that you came here 2 months ago. What was the date of that luncheon, Mr. Armour?
It was September 23rd, yeah.
Of what year?
1941, of course. What do you mean? What are you driving at?
Mr. Armour, apparently the last thing you remember is the lunch that you had in Peiping nearly 8 years ago. I understand the doctor has brought you more or less up to date, Mr. Armour.
Well, in the general way, yes. He told me about Pearl Harbor and the war, and finally the Japanese surrender, the revolution in China, and so on. Hasn't helped any as far as my memory is concerned, though.
Let me extend that memory by about 20 minutes.
What do you mean?
On September 23rd, 1941, you ate lunch at the Wagon Lee Hotel in Peiping with a Mr. Ficking, the Far East correspondent for an American newspaper.
Yes, I know that.
You left the hotel with Mr. Ficking and engaged a rickshaw, naturally. 2 blocks away, it was bumped by a Japanese army truck and overturned. You were thrown out and struck your head on the curbing.
But I don't
Your
understand.
companion became embroiled in an argument with the truck driver, and the crowd gathered. And when the affair quieted down, you had disappeared. From that time until your appearance here at Shanghai 2 months ago, your whereabouts are unknown.
But how did you find out about this?
That is unimportant. I am concerned with what you did after that. A war was being fought in China. The whole country was under martial law by one side or the other. Yet, I can find no record of you anywhere.
What are you getting at?
You were not with the American or Chinese armies, and neither the Japanese army nor the puppet government listed you as a war prisoner. You were not with the Chinese guerrillas. I was one of their leaders. I would have known about that. So, what were you doing, Mr. Armour? Collaborating, perhaps?
With the Japanese?
There would be no listing of your name in that case. They destroyed all such records before the surrender. And you were wearing a Japanese uniform when you came here.
You're out of your mind.
Then suppose you tell me what you were doing.
I can't tell you. I don't remember. What do you want, anyway? What brought you into this?
2 simple words that mean $1 million. Huh? Even when they are whispered by a man in delirium. Tang bronzes.
Tang bronzes?
You've heard of them?
Yes, of course. The only 2 pieces in existence are in the Buckingham Palace collection in London. But what have they got to do?
No, not those, Mr. Armour. I'm referring to the 4 Tang bronzes that are in existence in China.
Well, they've been lost for centuries.
Oh, no. A few Chinese in every generation have always known where they were. We were forced to move them for safekeeping several times during the war. The last time was a few days before the surrender. My men in charge of the job were ambushed and murdered, and the bronzes were stolen. By whom I've not been able to discover.
Are you implying that
I learned they were being taken to Shanghai. I traced them past Nanking and lost the trail. But they did not reach Shanghai. That I'm certain.
So? Why do I come in?
Well, from things I've said in delirium, I believe you have seen and touched those bronzes. Perhaps even you know where they are, if you could remember. I want them back. You want your memory back. Isn't it good to lose 80 years with no accounting for one's actions?
Just what are you suggesting?
I suggest that I settle all suspicion by a public statement that you were a member, incognito, of my guerrilla forces during the entire war. Then the 2 of us will start from Shanghai and work toward Nanking, hoping that some scene or association may serve as a key to unlock your memory. When that happens, we both have what we want.
I see. Well, there's only one thing wrong with it. I'm not going to do it.
Too bad. What are your plans, then, Mr. Armour?
The doctor says I'll be able to travel by the end of the week. I'm going to take a train to Shanghai and hop the first plane out to San Francisco.
I'm afraid you're making a serious mistake. But, of course, it's every man's privilege. At least, I hope you'll carry this with you on your trip.
Pistol? What for?
Because somewhere there is a person who may not stop at anything to make sure you do not regain your memory at some inconvenient moment. Have you forgotten about that, Mr. Armour?
Most of the long train trip to Shanghai was uneventful. I still carried the gun, mostly because I didn't know what else to do with it. But I had only one idea in mind, to get home to San Francisco and to Adrian just as soon as possible. At Nanking, the papers that came on board were carrying the story of my wartime association with Kento's guerrilla forces. Apparently, he'd gone ahead on his own with that part of his plan. From Nanking on, I could hear the other passengers discussing me amongst themselves. And when some 50 miles out of Shanghai, a fat, smiling little Chinese merchant named Mr. Chen sat down in my compartment, began to chatter away about my heroism.
It's most remarkable, Mr. Armour, most amazing, that one who served our country in such glorious way is not able to remember a single one of illustrious exploits.
Well, as I told you, Mr. Chen, I was injured nearly 8 years ago. I've been suffering from amnesia. It was only last week that my memory came back to me.
Oh, yes, it's too shame. And nothing, not one single hour of 8 years can be remembered.
No? All that I know is what Mr. Kento tells me.
It's true. Whatever Mr. Kento say is much important man, very great leader, very powerful fighter.
Yes, he is.
You know where is Mr. Kento now?
No, he left Gangfang 3 days ago. I think he went to Peiping.
Oh, yes. And your honorable intention, Mr. Armour, they are what?
Get a plane to San Francisco just as soon as possible.
Oh, it is most excellent plan. Shanghai, very troubled city, very unsettled. Would cause great lamentation inland if accident happened to illustrious hero of our country.
Accident?
Well, who can tell the ways of fate? In city like Shanghai, many accidents can happen, even to brave fighter with loaded pistol in coat pocket. It's much better you go away on plane very quickly, Mr. Armour.
In Shanghai, I took a taxi to the Cathay Hotel. When I started to check in, I got the first of several surprises. The clerk told me that I had a room already reserved and paid for, by whom he didn't know. At any rate, it was a nice room, one of the best in the house. Picked up the telephone, called the American consul. Then I started the hotel clerk working on an airline reservation. Set my clothes out to be clean, climbed into a shower. And by the time I'd finished, a boy knocked on my door with an envelope. I opened it, took out a note. Humble token of appreciation for illustrious wartime services, Mr. Chen. Attached to the note was a plane ticket to San Francisco, and a seat reservation for noon the next day. I should have expected the second note delivered 15 minutes later, but I didn't. It read, "Please do me the honor of joining me in the American bar downstairs at your convenience." Signed, Kento.
But of course you I will reserve the room, Mr. Armour. I knew you were planning to stay here at the cafe, and I was only too happy to assist you with a small favor.
It won't do you any good, Mr. Kento. I told you in Pyongyang I'm going home right away.
Hasty decisions are often reconsidered. Anyway, I think you may have helped some already.
Oh? In what way?
You were approached on the train by Mr. Chen, who urged you, if I am correctly informed, to leave Shanghai at once.
He did more than that. He arranged for a reservation on tomorrow's plane.
Well, Mr. Chen becomes more interesting by the minute. And did you know that he also arranged to have you followed from the railroad station?
I don't care. I'm not interested in your game, his game, if he has one, or anybody else's. I'm flying to San Francisco tomorrow.
What a pity. And without knowing a thing about a period of your life that covers nearly 8 years.
Yeah, whatever it was, it's over and done.
What's wrong, Mr. Armour?
That girl who just came in. The one who walked past our table.
Oh, yes.
Do you know her?
I only wish I did. She's beautiful, isn't she?
Can you find out who she is?
Of course. Although for a man so anxiously hurrying home to his wife, it's... well, waiter.
I sat there with my mind spinning madly while the waiter took the folded bill Kento handed him and went over to ask discreet questions. I was certain the girl had looked at me strangely as she passed the table. Even now, she glanced back from the bar before moving on through the room and out the door. To the best of my knowledge, I'd never seen her before in my life. And yet, the face I'd dreamed of so often in my delirium had been the face of this girl.
This lady live here on hotel. It's known by name Etoile.
Etoile, huh? All right. Thank you, boy. Was she by any chance who you thought she was?
No, I was wrong. I mistook her for someone else entirely.
I see. Merely a case of mistaken identity.
Yes.
It's very interesting. In view of this note, the waiter slipped this into my hand when he came back. It's addressed to Mr. Armour, so it isn't mine. But I don't... Why not open it and read it? Now, I, for one, am quite interested in finding out what a complete stranger has to say to you.
While Kento stared at me thoughtfully through the smoke from his cigarette, I unfolded the paper and read the hastily written lines. And then crumpled it and thrust it into my pocket without showing it to him. The words danced in my brain. My dearest David, why would you not speak to me when I came to your table? Have you forgotten me? Do the 6 years we spent together mean nothing to you? Please come to me at once. As always, your adoring wife, Etoile. Kento probed skillfully, trying to discover the contents of the note Etoile had sent me. But I had no intention of telling him. I left him still sitting at the table and went to the lobby. Talked briefly with the room clerk and with the antique dealer who kept a shop in the foyer. 10 minutes later, I stepped into an elevator and rode up to the 7th floor. And an hour after I'd seen Etoile in the bar, I was facing her again through the open doorway of her room. Her dark hair lay softly on her shoulders. Her skin was velvet and warm cream. The subtle scent of an amia perfume hung in the air like a tender challenge. She was lovely. She was supposed to be my wife. And I couldn't remember her.
David, my darling, won't you please come in?
Thank you. I suppose you're Etoile?
Well, of course, David.
And you did send me a note downstairs in the bar.
But who else, my dear? Oh, it's the old trouble again, isn't it?
Trouble?
The sickness of forgetfulness, my doctor called it. So often you suffered from it at Suchao, weeks at a time.
Suchao?
Don't you remember Willow House? The beautiful estate that Uncle Liu gave us when we were... Oh, that's why you did not speak to me in the bar. You've forgotten all of it. Even me.
Yes, I'm afraid you'll have to bear with me, Etoile. I don't mean to hurt you.
Oh, it doesn't matter, my darling. I understand. I've been so terribly worried since you ran away from Suchao 4 months ago. But now we're back together and everything is all right again.
Etoile, tell me, when was it we were married?
In the month of December 1941. See, I carry the paper with me always.
Yes.
We were married in the Chinese manner by Uncle Wang. And then Uncle Liu gave us Willow House.
And we lived there all through the war? Well, why weren't we bothered? I mean, by the Japanese?
Uncle Wang was very important in the puppet government. He was mayor of Suchao before the guerrillas shot him.
I see.
Why not come with me to Suchao tomorrow, David? Perhaps when you see Willow House again, you'll remember. All
right. Suppose we leave around noon.
Anytime you say.
Good, then I'll arrange to hire a car.
Well, there is one thing, David. I think it is better you know now instead of remembering later.
Oh? What's that?
Your job during the war. Uncle Wang arranged it for you.
Well?
translated captured American documents for the Japanese army.
Oh, great.
You didn't realize what you were doing, and we had to live.
I'm sorry, Etwell. I'd better get out of here. I'll call for you tomorrow.
David, even though you can't remember me yet as your wife, could you not at least kiss me goodnight?
Well, of course.
David. Until noon tomorrow, darling. Good night.
Early the next morning, I climbed into a hired car and headed out of Shanghai. Etwell was not with me. I had to face this for the first time alone. I thought I was heading into a showdown. Etwell's story was backed up by something else I learned the night before. The antique dealer at the hotel had told me he wasn't sure of the significance of the little porcelain rabbit the doctor at Fengyang had turned over to me, but he was certain that it had come from Su Chao. A servant let me into the willow house, and he left me alone in a large room furnished sparsely in the Chinese manner. I wandered about idly, still finding nothing that said to me, "You've been here before," until suddenly I came face to face with a crude poster looking very much out of place against the dainty lacquer screen. It was an offer of reward issued by the Japanese army during the war. The photograph on the poster was blurred beyond all likeness, but the wording was clear enough. $50,000, dead or alive, for the guerrilla general Eminese Kinto.
It makes rather an interesting tune here, don't you think so, Mr. Arm? No? When you draw the gun, you're covered, as they say.
Well, welcome to my humble abode, Mr. Kinto, or is it the other way around?
Neither is a matter of fact. Willow House was an undercover guerrilla headquarters in this area during the war.
And this whole business of being married and so on was another of your ideas? Is that right?
I'm afraid so, Mr. Armour. Etwell is a very capable operator. A guerrilla colonel, as a matter of fact. You were never married to him. Come on in, Louis.
All right, you fooled me into coming up here to Su Chao, but what good's it going to do? Can't tell you any more now than I could have in Shanghai.
Perhaps not. But my little scheme also involves a certain Mr. Chen. If he has not followed you here already, I believe he will do so soon.
Then you're putting your money on Chen as the man who stole the Tang bronzes. Is that it?
His insistence that you leave China seems to me suspicious. I intend to question him.
Couldn't you have done it in Shanghai?
Not with his greater freedom. My questioning is always thorough.
Well, that's your business. As far as I'm concerned, I'm heading back to Shanghai right now.
I'm afraid that's impossible. Etwell has already taken the liberty of paying off his chauffeurs.
Etwell?
She rode up here with you under a blanket in the backseat. And she's quite resourceful.
Now, look here, if you think for 1 minute...
Please, Mr. Armour, there is an old Chinese proverb which says, "He who rides the tiger finds it easier to get on than to get off." Louis, I think you'd better get the gun from our hot-headed friend.
A most excellent suggestion. Is in this pocket, I believe. Yes, thank you, Mr. Armour. And look, General Kinto. He has been collecting souvenirs.
One of the little porcelain rabbits, huh? Etwell didn't tell me you had stopped in Su Chao to go shopping.
I didn't. I had that figurine with me when I stumbled into Fengyang Mission.
What?
The doctor gave it back to me.
Why did you not tell me? This little figurine's come from a temple right here in Su Chao. They're given out to pilgrims during the annual festival. Mr. Armour, does the name Mei Ren Pagoda, Temple of the Moon, mean anything to you?
There's Brad. Temple of the Moon. Wait. Yes, it's coming back to me. And Mr. Chen, too. And the Tang bronzes. I remember now, Kinto. I can remember.
It is much unfortunate that you can't, Mr. Armour.
Mr. Chen.
The gun, General Kinto, dropped at once. Other one also. So, Mr. Armour, lost memory has returned.
Yes, I only saw you a few times during the 7 years. That's why I didn't recognize you. You were the abbot in the Temple of the Moon.
After previous abbot was disposed of early in 1942, temple served as excellent headquarters for operation of this lonely one. Also, a very amusing location being so near to your headquarters, General Kinto.
I'm to understand that you were a collaborator.
Quite so. Among other things, of course, even Kung Fu Tse said men must live.
Yes. I wandered here to the temple after that accident in Shanghai. The old abbot took me in without question, and I became one of the brothers. I had no memory at all. It was out of my mind half the time. They called me the forgetful one.
What about the time bronzes, Mr. Armour?
Oh, one night I couldn't sleep. I wandered onto the balcony of the great hall of the temple. Chen was there with some other men who were showing him the 4 bronzes they just brought in. I had a vague feeling that they were very important. I guess that's why I raved about them later at Fengyang Hospital.
Mr. Armour, you know what was done with the bronzes after you saw them?
Yes, they were buried that same night under the tiles beside the 7th pool in the temple courtyard.
Mr. Chen, are they still there?
Oh, but of course. And in a matter of moments, you may tell location to ancestors.
Mr. Chen, by your own admissions, added to things of which I know already, you are apparently guilty of collaboration, theft, a number of murders, and various high crimes against China. Have you anything to say in your defense?
Only to confess freely. Much less satisfying feeling when confessor holds gun in hand.
Then I find you guilty and the case is closed.
Oh, it's most amusing, General Kinto.
Colonel Etoile, you will carry out the sentence of the court.
As you say, General.
Excellent shooting, Colonel Etoile.
Oh, not at all. The range was nearly point blank.
Men should be designed with eyes in back of head.
Man should not try to ride the tiger.
This lowly one, muchly favored by having such beautiful executioner.
Thank you, little Chen.
Mr. Arnold, you have met Etoile before, under a false impression. May I now present her as my wife?
Your wife? Last night I thought she was my wife.
Yes, such are the remarkable ways of fate.
You didn't mind it, did you, David?
Colonel Etoile.
Oh, my Jimenez. But come, we must round out the men and enter the temple as quickly as possible. We cannot afford to lose the bronzes now.
You're quite right. Really, take care of the late lamented Mr. Chen. Come, Etoile. You are served well, Mr. Armour. My advice to you now, go to San Francisco at once. To your wife. Your own wife. Adios.
Come and see us, David, when we are the rulers of China. Go at work.
I stood there and watched her go, swinging along beside him, lithe and graceful. And a sudden, sharp feeling of loneliness came over me. Then the moment passed and I smiled to myself. She was only a part of all this, these stirring and exciting events. Nothing more. In San Francisco, the wife whom I loved was waiting for me. And Adrian, too, was a very beautiful moment.
Escape is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald. Today we presented transcribed He Who Rides the Tiger by James Norman, adapted for radio by Les Crutchfield, with editorial supervision by John Buckle. Starred as David Armour was Bill Conrad, with Barry Kroger as General Kinto. Featured in the cast were Maria Palmer, Jack Crucian, Ben Wright, and Edgar Berrien.
Has come to you through the worldwide facilities of the United States Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
Tired of the everyday routine? Ever dream of a life of romantic adventure? You want to get away from it all?
We offer you Escape, starring John Lund. Escape, designed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure. groping your way slowly through the dark hold of a ship at sea, moving carefully, step by step, searching intently for something you dread to find, because you know that this ship carries a cargo of death. Today, with John Lund in the role of Chris Warner, we escape to a harbor front in Venezuela and a grim voyage which started from there, as told by Martin Storm and his gripping tale, A Shipment of Mute Fate.
Stopped on the wharf at La Guaira and looked up the gangplank toward the liner Shanghai, standing there quietly at her mooring. The day was warm under a bright tropic sun, and the harbor beyond the ship lay drowsy and silent. But all at once, in the midst of those peaceful surroundings, a cold chill gripped me. I shivered with sudden dread of the thing I was doing and was about to do. But too much had happened to turn back now. I'd gone too far to stop. I set the box down on the edge of the wharf, placed it carefully so as to be in plain sight and within gunshot of the captain's bridge. I knew what I was going to do, but I couldn't forget that a certain pair of beady eyes were watching every move I made. Eyes that never blinked and never closed, just watched and waited. I turned and started up the gangplank.
Oh, you startled me, sir. I didn't hear... Why, it's Mr. Warner.
Well, hello, Mother Willis. How's the best-looking stewardess on the 7 Seas?
Well, I'm fine, Mr. Warner. Well, I guess I'd better run along now and get on with my chores.
Wait a minute. That's a fine greeting after 2 months.
Well, it's just that I'm so busy.
No, I don't believe a word of it. Sailing day's tomorrow. You're simply avoiding me, that's all.
Oh, no, Mr. Warner. Really, I'm not.
And on the trip down from New York, you said I was your favorite passenger.
Well, but I'm only
Here.
trying...
What's that you're carrying in your apron?
Oh, it's nothing. Just supplies.
Supplies. Here, let's have a look.
No, please.
What? Why, it's a cat.
It's Clara, Mr. Warner. Mr. Bowman said I had to leave her ashore, and I just couldn't.
Who's Mr. Bowman?
The new chief steward. Well, Clara's been aboard with me for 2 years, and I just can't leave her here in a foreign country. Especially with her condition, so delicate and all.
Well, I hope you get away with it.
You won't tell anyone?
Oh, not a soul. As a matter of fact, if things don't work out right, we may both end up smuggling.
Had you aboard on the trip down 2 months ago, Christopher, and I'm happy to have you along with us on the run back to New York.
Oh, thanks, Captain Wood. There is one thing, though.
Huh? What's that?
I'm having a little trouble with the customs men here. I wondered if you...
I can't do it, Christopher. I cabled your father just this morning. Told him I would have done it for you, or possibly could. He sent a request from New York, you know.
Yes, I thought he would. I wired him from upriver last week.
Well, I hated to refuse, but that's absolutely out of the question.
Captain Wood, I'm afraid I don't follow you.
Our responsibility to the passengers, son. We have women and children aboard, and on a liner, the safety of the passengers comes ahead of anything else.
But with proper precautions...
Something might happen.
What?
I don't know what, but something might.
You've carried worse things.
There isn't anything worse. And the skipper afloat will bear me out. No, Christopher. I simply can't take the chance. That's final.
It wasn't final if I could do anything about it. I hadn't come down here to spend 2 months in that stinking backcountry and then be stopped on the edge of the wharf. 2 months of it. Heat, rain, insects, malaria. I'd gone clear in past the headwaters of the Orinoco. Traveled through country where every step along the jungle trail might be the last one. Oh, Sanchez!
Si, Senor Warner.
Better start looking for a place to camp. Be dark in a little while.
Si, senor. Very soon we'll turn to river. Camp on rocks by water.
This very bad country.
This very bad country. You've been saying that for 10 days now. Very bad country.
Si, Senor Warner. This very bad country.
Oh, skip it. For all the luck we've had so far, it might as well be Central Park.
Central Park? I don't understand.
Oh, never mind. We don't... Here, what's the matter? Quiet there, quiet! Francis, what's wrong?
There in the past. See, Bushmaster!
Bushmaster. The deadliest snake in the world. Bushmaster. Its Latin name was Lachesis muta. Mute fate. It lay there in the center of the path. A 10-foot length of silent death. Coiled loosely in an undulate loop. Ready to strike violently at the least movement. Here was the one snake that would go after any animal that walked, or any man. It lay there, watching, not moving, not afraid, ready for anything. The splotch of its colors stood out like some horrible, gaudy floor mat, lying there on the brown background of the jungle, waiting for someone to step on it. Here was what I'd come 2,000 miles for, a Bushmaster. It was 3 days later when Sanchez brought me the snake in a rubber bag. He was shaking so hard, I thought for a moment the thing had struck him.
One thing you make sure, Senor Warner. No turn him loose in Venezuela. Because he know I the one who catch him. And he know where I live.
All right, Sanchez. I'll keep an eye on him.
He know you pay me to catch him. All the time you watch and wait. You no forget that, Senor Warner. Because he no forget. Not ever.
Well, after going through all that trouble and danger, I wasn't going to let a pig-headed ship's captain stop me at the last minute. At least not as long as the cables were still in operation between La Guaira and New York. Morning, Captain Wood. Boy at the hotel said you wanted to see me.
That's right, Christopher. Oh. Sit down.
Thank you.
Seems you weren't willing to let us stand the way we left them yesterday.
Sorry to go over your head, Captain Wood, but I had to. The museum sent me all the way down here for that snake, and I'm not going to be stopped by red tape. Why, this will be the only live Bushmaster ever brought to the United States.
If I had my way, Christopher. But orders are orders. I got a cable from the head office this morning. All right, now, suppose we talk about precautions.
Well, I'll handle it any way you say.
It's got to have a stronger box. That crate's too flimsy.
Oh, it's stronger than it looks. That wire screen on top would hold a wildcat. But anyway, I bought a heavy sea chest this morning. We'll put the crate inside it.
It sounds all right. It's got a lock on it.
Heavy padlock. It's fixed so the lid can be propped open a crack without unlocking it. Snake's got to have air.
All right. But in dirty weather, that lid stays shut. I'm taking no chances.
Fair enough.
We'll keep the blaster thing in my inside cabin where I sleep. Can't have it in the baggage room. And nobody on board to know about it.
Whatever you say, Captain. We won't have any trouble. After all, it's only a snake. Doesn't have any magical powers.
I saw a Bushmaster in the zoo at Caracas once. He was in a glass cage with double walls. Never move. Just lie there and look at you as long as you were in sight. Gave a man the creeps.
I didn't know they had a Bushmaster at the Caracas Zoo.
They don't now. Found the glass broke one morning. The snake gone. Night watchman was dead. They never found out what happened.
Well, the watchman must have broken the glass by accident in some way.
The way they figured it. The glass was broke from the inside. We sail in 4 hours.
Into the Caribbean, with perfect weather and a sea as smooth as an inland lake. The barometer dropped a little on the third day, but cleared up overnight. Left nothing worse than a heavy swell. But in spite of the calm seas and pleasant weather, I found myself feeling more and more often an ominous foreboding. I was developing an almost unnatural fear of that snake. I stayed clear of the passengers pretty much. Got the habit of dropping into Captain Wood's quarters several times a day. He kept the heavy box underneath his berth. I I'd approach it quietly and shine my flashlight through the open crack. Never once could I catch that 12-foot devil asleep or even excited. He'd be lying there, half coiled, his head raised a little, staring out of those beady black eyes, waiting. He'd still be like that when I turn away to leave. Maybe that's what bothered me. That horrible and constant, watchful waiting. What in the name of heaven was he waiting for?
Well, hello there, Mr. Warner.
Oh, how are you, Mother Willis?
My, but you and the captain spend an awful lot of time around this cabin. I'm beginning to think the two of you must have some guilty secret.
Oh, no, nothing like that, Mother Willis. I don't know about Captain Wood, but I certainly don't have any guilty secrets. Well, she's running quite a swell out there, Mr. Bowman.
Yeah. A little heavy, all right, Mr. Warner. Guess the storm passed through to the west of us yesterday when the glass dropped.
I think it missed us then, huh?
Well, that's what the mate figures. Sure stirred up some water, though.
This'll put half the passengers in their bunks.
Makes it great for my department. 2/3 of them will want a steward to hold their head.
They'll keep Mother Willis so busy that she... Wait, look at the size of that wave.
Great Jehoshaphat. They're going to take it on the port bow. You better hang on.
Freak if there ever was one. On another wave that size and stripe.
You see them like that sometimes, even on a calm sea. I better get below, Mr. Warner. That water probably did some damage on the officer's deck.
Yeah, I suppose. What did you say?
The wheel companionway was open on the port side. The bridge cabins must have taken a pretty bad smashing. They're right below the... Something wrong, Mr. Warner?
Oh, no. No, nothing at all, Mr. Bowman. At least, I hope not. I didn't stop to find Captain Wood. Of course, I knew it was only one chance in 1,000, but the chances against that freak wave are 1 in 1,000, too. I stumbled down the companionway and along the passage to the captain's cabin.
Oh, come on in, Mr. Warner.
Oh, Mother Willis.
My, isn't this cabin a mess? I'm trying to get some of these things out to dry.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to check. Where's that box that was under the captain's bunk?
Oh, that? Oh, I just threw it out on the deck.
What?
With the desk over there slid into it. It was all smashed.
But the small box inside of it. What happened to that?
Oh, they were both splintered, Mr. Warner. Broke wide open.
Oh, no.
Why, Mr. Warner, you're white as a sheet.
Mother Willis, will you go find Captain Wood?
Yes, sir.
Tell him to come down here immediately.
Well, of course, Mr. Warner. I'll go tell him right away. I can finish up here. Look.
I pulled open the top drawer of the bureau beside me and took out the captain's flashlight and a loaded pistol. Mother Willis had left a mop standing by the door. I put my foot on the head of it and snapped off the handle. Every move I made turned into slow motion. I could hear my own heart beating. Slowly, I started to search the cabin. Sodden heaps of clothing were scattered around on the wet, black floor. I punched at them one at a time, holding the gun cocked, the flashlight pointing along the stick. Nothing. I worked around the room, throwing the light into the dark corners, back of the desk, under the bunk. Wherever I turned, I could feel those cold, unblinking eyes at my back, watching and waiting. Still nothing. Using the stick, I pushed open the closet door, threw the light inside. Carefully, I poked at the boxes and junk on the floor. The snake was not in the closet. Inch by inch, I covered the entire cabin. And only then the horrible realization began to dawn on me. Captain Wood.
Mother Willis just told me. Well, Christopher. So it's happened.
That's right. It's happened.
I see you found the gun. That's good. You better start by searching the cabin here.
Captain Wood, I just finished searching it.
Oh. Women, kids. That thing loose on board. 1,000 places for it to hide. Heaven help us, Christopher. use starting to blame anybody now, gentlemen. I didn't call you in here to pass judgment. The thing's done, and that's that.
Yeah, you're right
what
there,
we have
Captain.
got to do is to make up our minds how we're going to handle it.
It'd be easy if we didn't have to tell the passengers and crew. I've seen panics aboard liners before.
I agree with you, Mr. Bowman, but I don't quite see how we can avoid it.
They got a right to know. As long as that snake's loose, everybody on board's on the same danger. And they all ought to know about it.
Captain Wood, that thing is 12 feet long. It can't simply crawl into a crack. Why don't we make a quick search of the whole ship before we spread any
I
alarm?
thought of that, Christopher.
Well, as far as I can see, the only place it couldn't be is in the boilers or on top of the galley stove. It might have crawled overboard.
No. Can't count on that. We've got to assume it's on the ship somewhere.
Yeah, that could be anywhere. A coil of rope or in a pile of clothes or under a baby's crib. Or even
You've
in...
already said it. That Bushmaster could be anywhere. We've got to do something, and we've got to do it fast.
All right. I think the best idea is to follow Mr. Warner's suggestion. Make a quick search first. You agree to that?
Yeah.
Then, if we don't find it, we'll have to warn the passengers.
We've got to find it. Alone in the dim baggage room, I went through the same movements as I had earlier in the captain's cabin. Gun in one hand, flashlight in the other, poking into every dark corner behind every trunk and box. Since the baggage room was empty, I could keep the gun cocked and ready. The rest of those poor devils were having to do the same thing barehanded. All over the ship, the search went on.
Here now, Stuart. What on earth are you doing rummaging through my cabin?
I'm just checking up, ma'am.
Well, I'm quite sure there's nothing in here that has to be checked.
I'm sorry, ma'am. It's captain's orders. It'll only take a few minutes.
Well, I've never heard of such a thing. A passenger simply doesn't have any privacy at all. I've traveled on a lot of different lines, but I've certainly never heard of anything.
Sorry, sir. I wonder if you'd mind moving over to the other rail. I'd like to look through these lockers.
Sure, go ahead. What's the matter? You lost something?
No, nothing like that. No, just looking things over.
Well, there's nothing in there but life preservers.
Yeah, that's right.
You must be getting ready to sink the boat, huh? You got to collect insurance on it, is that it? You got to send us all to the bottom, I know. But not one of us could find that deadly shape, coiled in some dark corner or outstretched along a window seat. Not one of us caught a glimpse of that horrid head with its beady, black, watchful eyes. The thing lay waiting out there, somewhere along the deck, shaded in the gathering dusk. But where, we didn't know. It was nearly dark when we met together again in the chart room.
Well, gentlemen, there's no other way around it. We've risked all the time we can. We've got to warn the passengers.
How we do it, Captain? Call them all together in the lounge?
No, indeed. If we did anything like that, we'd be asking for a panic.
We'll get one whether we ask for it or not.
Pick a few men and go through the cabin decks. Tell them individually, inside their cabins. Watch for any that act like they might cause trouble, and we keep an eye on them. Handle the crew the same way. As soon as they're finished, arm all the deck officers and start searching again. Yeah. Our only chance of preventing a riot is to find that damnable snake.
The slow nightmare that followed grew worse by the hour. None of us slept. All the ship's officers not on duty kept on with that endless search. Passengers locked themselves in their cabins or huddled together in the lounges, knowing all the time that no spot on board could be called safe. Fear was a heavy fog in the lungs of all of us, and every light on the vessel burned throughout the night. Morning came and brought no relief. Terror and tension mounted by the hour.
There now, Mrs. Crane. Stop getting yourself all worked up and go back to your cabin. The horrid thing's probably crawled overboard anyway.
You're just saying that. You're paid to say it. You don't know. Nobody knows.
Now, everything's going to be all right.
If only we could do something. If all of us could only get off this ship, they could fumigate it. Yes, that's what we've got to do. We've got to get off the ship.
No, wait. Mr. Bowman, she's going to jump. Grab her.
Nice work, Mr. Bowman. Get her down to her cabin. And whatever you do, don't turn her loose.
You never know when it might strike you. You can't put on a coat or move a chair without risking your life, and something's got to be done. It might be right here in this lounge.
All right, mister. All right, you better quiet down and take it easy.
Take it easy, eh? You're a great officer. Why don't you do something about it? That thing might be crawling around here right under our feet somewhere.
I said shut up. What are you trying to do, start a panic?
I got a right to talk. I don't want to die, and no one's going to tell me
The second night passed, and morning came around again. A gray and rainy day that dragged past, and then night came down. Third night of the terror. Again, every light burned, and the whole ship seethed in the throes of incipient panic. Faced by a horror they'd never met on the sea before, crew and officers alike were on the verge of revolt. Passengers sat huddled in a trance-like stupor, ready to scream at the slightest unknown sound. At 7 bells, I made my way forward to the chart room. I found Captain Wood bent over a desk.
Oh, hello, Christopher. Come on in, sit down.
It's got to be somewhere, Captain Wood. It's got to be.
I don't know. You could search this ship for 6 months and never touch all the places aboard. If we can only hold out for 2 more days, we'll be in.
What's your home office say?
Here's the latest wireless from them. Keep quiet and keep coming. What else can we do? A cigarette, Chris?
Oh, thanks.
How is it on the decks?
Pretty bad. Anything could happen.
Yeah. So I took the guns away from the men. 1 pistol shot, we'd have a riot on our hands.
The whole thing's my fault, Captain Wood. That's what I can't forget.
Take it easy, lad.
There was only some way I could pay for it myself, alone.
No. I know how you feel, but it's no more your fault than mine or the man who asked you to bring that snake back alive. Nobody planned this. You better try to get a little sleep, I think.
Sleep?
The bowman made some coffee down in the steward's galley a while ago. Better go on down and get yourself a cup and then rest for a couple of hours.
Rest? I can't rest.
Christopher, it's not going to help anything if you stumble through a hatch half asleep and break your neck, now is it? Go on, get some coffee. Okay. One way or another, we've got to hold out for 2 more days.
The light was on in the steward's galley, and the coffee pot was standing on the stove. It was still warm, so I didn't bother to heat it. I poured out a cup, carried it over, and set it on the porcelain tabletop in the center of the room. I started to light a cigarette. The door of the pan cupboard beneath the sink was standing slightly ajar, and I happened to glance toward it. I dropped the cigarette and moved slowly backward. I found the Bushmaster. As I moved, the snake slid out of the cupboard in a single sinuous glide and drew back into a loose coil on the galley floor, never taking his eyes off me. I moved slowly back, waiting any moment for that deadly, slithering strike. How had he known it was me? He'd stayed quiet when Bowman was here. How had he picked the first time in 5 days that I was without a gun? My hands touched the cold bulkhead behind me, and I stopped. Only then I realized in terror what I'd done. The call button and door were on the far side of the room. I backed into a dead end. I stared at the snake in fascination, expecting any moment the ripping slash of those poison fangs. The horrible coils tightened a little, and were still again. 10 million years of evolution have produced this moment. Homo sapiens versus Lachesis muta. Man against mute fate. And all the odds were on fate. I knew then that I was going to die. I could feel the sweat run down between the painted wall and the palms of my hands pressing against it. My skin crawled and twitched. The pit of my stomach was cold as ice. There was no sound but the rush of blood in my ear. The snake shifted again, drawing into a tighter coil. Always tighter. Why didn't the devil get it over with? And for just an instant, his head veered away. Something moved over by the stove. I didn't dare turn to look at it. Slowly, it moved out into my line of vision. It was Cat. The scrawny cat Clara that Mother Willis had sneaked aboard in La Guaira. Back was arched. Every hair stood on end. It moved stiff-legged now, walking in a half circle around the snake. The Bushmaster moved slowly, kept watching the cat. He tightened. He was going to strike at any second. He struck and missed. The
cat was barely out of reach. Now she was walking back and forth again. She was asking to die. Missed again, by a fraction of an inch. She was striking now without even going to a full coil. Missed, again and again, always missing by the barest margin. Each time the cat danced barely out of reach. Each time she countered with one precise pat of a dainty paw, bracing her skinny frame on three stiff legs. And then suddenly, I realized what she was doing. The Bushmaster was tiring, and one strike was just an instant slow. But in that split second, sharp claws raked across the evil head and ripped out both its eyes. The cat had deliberately blinded the snake. He didn't bother to coil now, but slid after her in a fury, striking wildly, always missing. And every strike was a little slower than the last one, until finally... As the snake's neck stretched out at the end of a strike, the cat made one leap and sank her razor-sharp teeth just back of the ugly head, sank him until they crunched bone. With tooth and claw, she clung as the monster snake flailed and lashed on the floor, striving to get those hideous coils around her, trying to break her hold, to shake off the slow and certain paralyzing death that gradually crept over him. And at last, stilled his struggles forever. I took a deep breath. The first in minutes. The cat lay on her side on the floor, panting, resting from the fight just over. She had a right to rest. That mangy, brave, beautiful alley cat had just saved my life. And maybe others as well. Then, as I turned toward the stove, I suddenly became very humble. And I knew all at once what a small thing a human being really is. I and others aboard were still alive only by the merest accident. There were three reasons why that cat had fought and killed the world's deadliest snake. And those three reasons came tottering out from under the stove on shaky little legs. Three kittens, with their eyes bright with wonder, their tails stiff as pokers. Up on the decks, hundreds of passengers were waiting for the news that the days and nights of terror were ended. Well, they could wait a little longer. I pulled open the doors of the cabinet and found a can of milk. Then I dropped down on my knees on the floor of the galley.
Escape, produced and directed by Norman MacDonald, has brought you John Lund in A Shipment of Mute Fate by Martin Storm. Specially adapted for radio by Les Crutchfield. Featured in the cast were Barry Kroger as Captain Wood and Lois Corbett as Mother Willis, with David Ellis, Don Diamond, and Vivi Janis. Special sound effects by Earl Keane and Gus Bays. The musical score was conducted by Leith Stevens. Next week,
you are trapped in a remote valley in the Andes, walled in by sheer rock precipices, and surrounding you, closing in on you, is a band of blind men who want your eyes.
Next week, escape with H.G. Wells' great story, The Country of the Blind, when our star will be that fine actor, Edmund O'Brien. Good night, then, until this same time next week, when once again CBS offers you Escape. John Lund may soon be seen starring the Paramount picture Bride of Vengeance. This is Roy Rowan speaking. It's time now for the most wonderful hour of laughter on the air. The mad and merry 60 Minutes with the Jack Benny Show and with Amos and Andy. They will be heard over most of these same CBS stations. And Jack Benny will come to you over them all. You'll never miss them by staying tuned to the station where they say, "This is CBS," where 99 million people gather every week. The Columbia Broadcasting System.
Tired of the everyday routine? Ever dream of a life of romantic adventure? Want to get away from it all?
We offer you Escape. Escape, transcribed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure.
You are searching frantically through the dark, empty rooms of an apartment, panic gripping your heart, terror at your heels. For the girl you loved, who was with you a moment before, has disappeared, vanished, as if into thin air.
Today we escape from reality with a gripping tale of a girl who vanished and the man who had to find her to save his life, as Cornell Woolrich told it in his great story, Finger of Doom.
Nothing unusual ever happens to you, huh? In your comfortable American city, nothing ever could it? Let me tell you something. Right on the common, everyday streets of a big city, I had the strangest, most fantastic adventure anyone could dream of. And I've had my fill of adventure for the rest of my life. This happened several years ago, before the war, on an ordinary evening in early spring. Well, not so ordinary, because I had a couple of free tickets to a good show, and I was picking Steffi up at her office for dinner. See, we were going to be married in less than 2 weeks. So naturally, I was impatient as I waited there on the sidewalk in front of her office building. And, of course, she was late, last one to leave as usual. It felt like a picket pacing up and down in front of the door, but finally there she was, spun gold piled on her head, blue eyes shining, and carrying...
Hi, darling.
What's that?
Have I kept you waiting long? I tried to hurry all I could. With this? Just a package. I promised his nibs I'd deliver it on the way home.
But you're not going home. We're eating out and going to a show.
But it's right on the way. I have to leave it at a flat in Martin Street. It won't take a minute.
Why can't he get somebody else to run his errands for him? We're late now. This will cut our eating time down.
Woof, Grumpy.
Oh,
So this is what the 13th does to you.
13?
You mean you've forgotten? You mean you aren't counting the days?
Oh, sure. 13 days left.
13 and a half. Don't forget that half of it's to be a noon wedding. I don't like the 13 all by itself. I'll be glad when it's tomorrow when only 12 left.
You know something? You're cute. The more I know you, the cuter you get.
I bet you won't say that a year from now. I bet you'll be calling me your old lady then.
Will you mind?
Well, not right at first, maybe.
Okay, come on, let's make like delivery boys. Oh, what's the address?
Mr. Miller, 415 Martin Street, apartment 4F.
We're on our way. Sure is a frowsy neighborhood.
Everybody can't be rich, you know. 411, 413. Oh, there it is.
Yeah. Some clients your boss must have. I'll be glad when you aren't working for him anymore. Oh, did you give him your notice?
Yesterday. He gave me the funniest look. Good thing he doesn't know you. He'd eat you alive.
Hey, wait.
Huh?
Here it is.
Oh, I was sailing right by. See how you affect me?
Mm-hmm. Okay, give it to the hallman or the janitor or somebody, and let's get going.
Oh, no, I've got to take it up personally and get a receipt. Besides, there doesn't seem to be anybody here. Oh, it's one of those push-button doors. What did I say the name was again?
Muller or something, wasn't it?
What would I do without you? 4A, 4B, 4C. Oh, here it is, 4F. Oh, no wonder I couldn't find it. The name card's fallen out. Oh, this must be the button. You wait down here for me. I won't be a minute.
A minute's too long.
Well, this'll hold you until I get back. Oh, the door. Only a minute now. Bye.
Bye. For a minute, I watched her through the glass. She got into the little self-service elevator and closed the door. Then all I could see was the gleam from the elevator in use light. Then she was gone. I lit a cigarette and waited. How long does it take to smoke a cigarette? 5 minutes? 10? Anyway, I finished it. Nothing happened. I stood around fidgeting, shifting from one foot to the other, from one shoulder leaning against the wall to the other. Woman came by with a squalling kid, gave me a haughty look, and went on in. I tried to figure out what could be taking so long. Maybe they didn't have a pencil to sign the receipt. Maybe they had to find one. I lit another cigarette, took a couple of puffs, but now my patience was gone. What is this? I rattled the door first, and then I pushed the button for apartment 4F. I still didn't plan to go up. I just wanted to let her know that I was still alive. But I got no answering buzz. I kept ringing it, holding my thumb down till it was white. Still no answer. Suddenly I wasn't angry anymore. Suddenly I was scared. I did the instinctive thing. I ran out into the street again and looked up at the face of the building, searching the windows, but of course there was nothing to see. And that move cost me a chance to get in. While I was out on the sidewalk, a seedy-looking character came out of the door, letting it click shut before I could get back in. I tried the buzzer again. Couldn't be out of order. They'd answered it when Steffi pushed it. But now, nothing. Dead to the world up there. By now it was 20 minutes. 20 minutes since she left me. Now I was frightened. I knew I had to get up there. I pushed another button, anyone at random. The door was released and I was in. F was at the back of the building. I stood out in the dark hallway and listened. There wasn't a sound. At first, this was a relief. At least she wasn't in any difficulty, or she'd be screaming. But then, when I began to knock and kick the door, practically break it down, and still nobody made a sound, I began to get panicked. Heads poked out of doors all along the hall. Where will I find the janitor?
Down in the basement, I suppose.
I raced down to the basement and found the janitor eating his supper. I barged right in.
You looking for something?
Come up with me, quick. Will you bring your pass key? I want to open one of the flats.
What's the matter? What's wrong?
I don't like the looks of it. My girl took a package up. I've been waiting for her for over 20 minutes, and she never came down again. Now they won't answer the bell. Come on, please, hurry.
Oh, which apartment is it?
On the 4th floor. Come on, I'll show you.
What number?
4F, but...
Wait a minute. Couldn't be 4F, not that one.
Why not?
Because there's nobody living there. Why, that apartment's been vacant for 6 months.
He took me up and showed me he was right. It was an empty flat. I went through its rooms calling Steffi's name, but she wasn't there. There was nobody there. Looked like there hadn't been anybody there for months. The dust was thick on the bare floor, on the sills of the locked windows.
See, mister, she couldn't have come in here.
But I saw her. I saw her ring the bell and go in the door.
In this door?
The downstairs door.
Oh, well, she could have gone to any apartment then.
But she was coming here. She rang this bell and somebody answered.
Nobody could have answered. Nobody's been here. She must have rung another bell.
Is there somebody in this apartment named Muller?
No, we never had anybody by that name. Not in the whole 12 years I've been here.
Somebody must have gotten in and was waiting for her.
Will you tell me how they could? It was locked. You saw me open it with my pass key, didn't you?
Listen, we're going to ask all the tenants on this floor. Maybe they heard something.
Now, wait a minute. I don't like to disturb them. Maybe this girl just walked out on you. Maybe it had a quarrel.
No, there was nothing like that. I know she wouldn't just walk out. Besides, how could she? Is there a back way?
Yes, but only through the basement. She would have had to pass right by me.
And you didn't see her, and I was waiting downstairs at the front door, and she didn't come out that way. Then obviously she's still in here.
Well, maybe. Or maybe...
What?
Are you sure she ever come in?
Of course. You mean, am I sure there ever was a girl?
Well, now, don't get excited, mister. All right, we'll look, we'll ask. Take it easy, take it easy.
Okay.
Hear anything in 4F? How could I? The place is empty.
I know, but didn't you hear something? Anything?
No. Yeah, the buzzer was going like crazy, like somebody was leaning on the button downstairs. But
that was me.
Yeah. Then a little later, this guy banging on the door. He asked me where to find you.
Never mind.
Thank you. Sorry to have disturbed you.
Okay.
Well, that's all of them. No trace at all. Maybe now you'll let me get back to my supper. There's nothing more we can do. Maybe if you go where she lives or works, you might find her.
Wait here. I'm going to call the police. First, I got a patrolman from the corner. He asked a lot of questions and then called his station. A few minutes later, a detective was dropped off, a fellow by the name of Gilman. I must admit he was thorough. He checked on every apartment in the building. The only thing he learned was about the false ring which let me in. But there was only one, not two. And that meant that whoever buzzed for Steffi was expecting her. Gilman checked apartment 4F thoroughly, the windows with their undisturbed layer of dust, the door, the keyhole, everything. And then he said...
There's nothing to show that she or anyone else ever came in here, Bud.
Look, don't do this to me. You make it sound like she didn't come here with me at all.
That's what it does sound like.
But don't you see? Look, I was going to take her to a show. Here are the tickets.
Don't mean a thing. We're going to build this from the ground up and see what we've got. You say her name is Stephanie Riska. Address?
120 Farragut.
What's she look like?
She's blonde, and she came up to about here on me.
Okay. Don't let it get you.
I'm not scared because she's gone. It's because she's gone in such a fairy tale way. She just disappeared into thin air.
All right, let's get about finding her then. You met her at 6:15 outside the Bailey Goodwin building with a package to be delivered here. Who'd she work for?
A press clipping service called the Green Star. It's a one-man organization operated by a man named Hessen. One dinky little room on the ground floor of the building.
What do they do?
I don't know much about it. They have a list of clients, and they go through the paper and clip out any story which mentions one of the clients. They get about a nickel a clipping.
How is there any money in that?
I don't know.
Okay, we're going up there. We'll find out.
The night watchman led us into the office after Gilman showed him his badge. It was a tiny room with only a desk, a telephone, and another table and a filing cabinet. Except for a lone can of Canadian Ace brew, all of them were bare as bones.
This is no office. This is a telephone booth.
Not a big business, I guess.
This is their list of clients. They can't be making very much money at those prices.
Steffi got paid every week.
There's nobody named Muller in the file.
What do you think?
I don't see anything here to indicate she even has a secretary.
You could ask the night watchman.
I already have. He's never seen her.
Well, but that doesn't mean anything. He works at night and she works in the daytime.
Okay, I only said he's never seen her. Doesn't know anything about her.
Hessen, her boss. You can ask him.
We're going there next, and I guess you'll have a chance. Wait a minute. Here's something.
What?
What kind of gum does your girl chew?
She doesn't. Likes Lifesavers, hates gum.
Whoever sits at this table chews gum. Lots of it. It's all over the bottom. Tutti frutti.
Oh, that doesn't mean anything. Maybe somebody came and put it there. Maybe it's all. Maybe Hessen.
Okay, let's go. We'll see what he has to say.
Hessen lived in a swanky bungalow-type home in the suburbs. As Gilman and I left the police car and walked up the drive to the house, I got the strangest feeling of unreality. Like this was all a horrible nightmare. Couldn't be happening. My knees were sagging, but then Gilman was knocking on the door, and it was answered by an ugly, foreign-looking character who went away and returned to usher us into Hessen's presence. I'd seen him a time or two, but he didn't know me, so he gave no sign of recognition.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Mr. Hessen, I'm Sergeant Gilman, police force.
Oh, yes, I'm pleased to know you.
I won't take up much of your time, but I need a little help.
Gladly, if it is within my power.
Did you ever see this young fellow before?
No. What has he done?
I'm not sure yet. You know anyone named Muller at 415 Martine Street?
Muller? No, I don't know anyone by that name. I think we have a Miller, a Mrs. Elsie Miller, on our list, who all the time divorces and remarries. Will that do? She owes us $29.
Then you didn't send a package over to Muller, apartment 4F, 415 Martine Street at 6:15 this evening?
No.
Why, you...
Hold it. You keep quiet.
I'm sure I didn't, Sergeant. But wait, it's easy enough to confirm it. Oh, Miss Riska.
Yes?
Stephanie, will you please come in a moment?
What? Steady.
My assistant happens to be right here at the house tonight. I had some dictation to give her, and she's transcribing it. We usually mail out clippings. Only when there's some urgent request do I send them by personal messenger.
Yes, sir?
Suddenly the room was spinning in front of my eyes. I was looking at it, trying to see it, but lights kept streaking across the room like comets. And their voices came to me through a thick fog.
Stephanie, did we send a package to 415 Martine Street this evening to a Mr. Muller?
No, sir. Not that I know of.
I see. And tell me, did you ever see this young man before? Do you know him?
Why, no, I don't believe I do.
Wait, this isn't Stephanie. He's calling somebody else by her name. This isn't Stephanie. I tell you that...
My dear sir, this is the only young lady I have working for me.
In just a moment, we will return to Escape. But first, Mr. and Mrs. X thought they were pretty smart, smarter than the Narcotics Bureau and the Bureau of Customs combined. But they overlooked a casual passenger aboard the luxury liner.
For a fascinating true-life tale of crime and smuggling on the high seas, hear Gangbusters tonight. And along with it, CBS's other great Saturday night thrill-a-minute show, The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Both of these programs are regular Saturday night features on most of these same CBS network stations. Gangbusters recreates famous crimes and their solutions by national, state, and local agencies. The Adventures of Philip Marlowe are based on the character of the famous Private Eye, created by Raymond Chandler, the noted mystery story writer. And now, with our stars, Harry Bartell as Kenny, and with Ed Begley as Gilman, we return to the second act of Escape and Finger of Doom.
Hesson stood there and blandly said it. This strange girl was my fiancée, was Stephanie Riska. He stood there looking surprised and hurt, and she stared at me with a just right, puzzled expression on her face. Gilman was holding me with a sort of a half Nelson and gritting at me.
Stop it.
But I tell you, this isn't Steffi. Steffi is blonde. This girl is brunette. Steffi's short, comes up to here. This one's tall, I tell you.
Shut up. You're asking for trouble. Now, calm down.
Sergeant, I don't believe I understand.
I'm just beginning to myself. Miss, how long have you been working for Mr. Hesson?
Why, since October of last year. About 6 months.
And your name is Stephanie Riska?
Why, yes, of course.
She's lying, I tell you.
Shut up. I don't mean to doubt your word, miss, but just for the record, I suppose you could show me some proof of your identity?
Why, yes, right here in my bag. My driver's license.
Oh, wait, the bag has initials. Oh, yeah, S.R.
Of course, S.R.
And the driver's license.
Steffi doesn't drive. She has no car.
But I do. It isn't a very good one,
Anything else?
This letter, addressed to me.
Address 120 Farragut. May I look?
Why, yes, of course.
Uh-huh. It's genuine, all right. Here you are, and...
I don't know what else I have here, but... Oh.
I'll get it. Here you are.
Oh, thank you.
I see you carry chewing gum in your purse.
Why, yes.
Tutti frutti. Not many people like that flavor.
I never chew any other.
Well, thanks. Sorry to have bothered you both. Come on, chum.
I hope we've been able to help, Sergeant.
A lot, thanks. Good night.
Good night, Sergeant.
Okay, what's your racket, kid? Are you a pushover for the mental ward? Or are you working off a grudge against this guy? Or did you do something to some little blonde, blue-eyed number and you're trying to set up an alibi even before we find out about it?
Things like this don't happen. They can't. 1 minute she's here and then she's gone. No one will believe me.
Why should we? You haven't produced a single person all night who actually saw this blonde of yours.
Where'd I get her name and address then?
That's one thing I'm not sure of. So I'll give you one more spin for your money. You stand or fall by the place she lived. 120 Farragut Street. Come on, let's go. Okay, this is it. Come on. What is it, a rooming house?
Yeah. She lived alone, just a room. She only came here from Harrisburg 6 months ago. But the landlady...
Now, what's the matter?
I just remembered. Hesson recommended this place to her.
Now, look. You want to go in or you want to go to headquarters? The tougher you get with me, the tougher I'll be on you.
Listen, you gotta listen. I was only up there once, but I remember it. Sticking in the mirror of the dresser is a litho of the Holy Mother. On the radiator's a rag doll I won for her at Coney Island and a Hickok wallet I gave her last Christmas. And on a shelf against the wall is a gas ring, and from the light fixture to the gas jet is a string where she hangs stockings to dry. Will you remember those things? The bedspread's green, and there's a green and yellow upholstered chair. Don't you see? I couldn't make these things up. She must be real.
You almost convinced me. Come on. When we get inside, you keep your mouth shut. One peep and I'll split your lip.
Yes?
You got a girl named Stephanie Riska living here?
Yep. 4th floor front.
How long has she been here?
Riska? 6 months.
What does she look like?
Dark hair, dark skin. About as tall as this young fella. talks kind of husky. Why?
Police. I want to see your room.
Sure. Come right in.
Gilman practically had to support me all the way up. My knees just weren't functioning. But that was nothing to the shock I got when the landlady opened Steffi's door. The room was all different. Not one thing was the same as I had told Gilman. He didn't even look at me.
Has she always had it fixed up this way?
Always, since the first week she moved in.
Does she drive a car?
Yeah, well, a little old coupe. She's a real clean roomer. Only one thing I got to complain about. Oh, there it is again, under the washstand.
Oh, yeah. Chewing gum. Yeah, let me see it. Uh-huh. Tutti frutti.
You better watch your friend. He looks like he's going to faint.
Let him fold up. That isn't anything to the falls he'll be taken in a few minutes.
What did he do? Murder her?
Not her, but I got a good hunch he murdered somebody, and he picked the wrong name out of the hat.
He don't look like...
I hit him and ran. I knew I had to. He was going to take me to the police station. Then I wouldn't have any chance to find Steffi. Not for a long time. Maybe too long a time. And I had to find her. I went back to the Martine Street flat. It was the only place to go. Back to where she disappeared. Start from there. I knew Gilman would catch up with me sooner or later, but I might be able to turn up something first. I told the janitor the cops had sent me back to take another look at the apartment and got him to give me the passkey. He fell for it. I went up to the apartment alone. But once there, I couldn't find a thing. I wandered through the empty rooms, calling her name helplessly. I tapped the walls, scraped the plaster, tested the windows. I'd been there about 10 minutes when I heard a little sound out in the hall, like somebody coming up the stairs very quietly. I slipped out the door and stood at the top of the stairs. It was the janitor, with Gilman and 2 cops. They were coming up the stairs. There was only one way for me to go, up, so up I went. And then they saw me.
Hey, you, come down here.
One flight up, I came to the top of the stairs. A sort of skylight window opened under the roof. It was standing loose, partly open. I ran out across the roof, tried to hurdle the low wall to the next roof. I missed, fell.
All right, don't move. I got you, you bloody livered louse. And when I get you down to hell.
All right. I'll go quietly. It's no use now.
Well, I'll be.
What's the matter?
Calhoun, throw your light over here.
What is... Okay. What? It's a package.
Yeah, package lying here on the roof. Addressed to Muller, apartment 4F.
That's it. Don't you see? That's what she brought.
Holy smoke. Okay, kid. Somebody did bring a package here tonight. I'll give you that. And when I give you that, I guess I give you all of it. She's a blonde, never chews gum, doesn't drive, all of it. Somebody must have jumped her, brought her up this way across the roofs and down through some other house. They dropped the package on the way. Maybe didn't have time to come back and pick it up.
What'll we do?
Calhoun.
Yeah.
Call in. Have a radio car keep Heston's house on Myrtle Drive spotted until we get there. I want to stop off at that office again first.
Right, Sergeant.
Do you think...
No, kid, not yet. They would have done it right here in the empty flat and let you take the rap. Come on. Buck up. We got work to do.
At Heston's office, we found 2 things.
These files are funny. About every third name is a foreign one with a foreign mailing address. Why would those people want local press clippings?
What do you mean?
I mean, this looks like a job for the FBI, spy stuff. Maybe your girl had found something out. That's why they figured she was too dangerous. Did she ever say anything?
No, but she told them she was quitting next week to get married.
So she didn't suspect anything, but they thought she did. Same thing. Come on, we'll stop off at that rooming house. I want that landlady picked up. Obviously, she's one of them. Changed the room all around. Stuck the gum into the washstand, everything.
Hey, wait. Look. On the floor next to the baseboard.
Yeah. Gilt hairpin. So she was blonde. Okay, let's go.
At the rooming house, with the landlady turned over to a cop downstairs, Gilman went over the room once more. Fished into the wash basin drain and came out with a couple of blonde hairs.
Now, why didn't I think of that the first time? Girl shampoos her hair once in a while.
Then we were on our way to Heston's house on Myrtle Drive. All the way I was praying. When we arrived, it was dark, deserted. Even the police car Gilman had ordered wasn't there. We went in, shooting the lock off the door. We searched the ground floor, then upstairs. In an attic room, we found a shortwave radio. But not Steffi. Just as we got back downstairs, Calhoun came in with a report from the radio car.
They trailed him to Pier 07, North River. The three of them got on a tramp steamer that sailed immediately.
And they're gone. It's too late.
They won't get out of the harbor. We'll have them picked off at quarantine. 3 of them, you say, Calhoun? A blonde girl?
No, they said 2 men and a dark girl.
Then where's Steffi?
Still here, probably.
But where?
We'll soon... Wait. You smell something? Smoke?
Yeah. And gasoline.
The basement. Come on, hurry.
Smoke. The basement's filled with smoke.
Here, over this way.
Steffi! Steffi!
Hurry, this place will be a mass of flames in a minute.
I can't see. Steffi!
Here, give me a hand. Here she is. Hurry.
Oh, Steffi. Is she...
No, she's breathing. Hurry, let's get her out of here fast.
In the next few minutes, there was a lot of excitement around there. While the fire companies fought the fire, we cut the ropes off Steffi and revived her. She was all right. And I sat there in the police car with my arms around her as if I'd never let her go again. And that's just how I felt, too. Then a radio report came in.
Well, they got him off the ship at quarantine. They'll be turned over to the FBI eventually. But first, well, they better hadn't let me get my hands on him. You know, kid, she is pretty.
Gee, thanks for everything.
It's okay. Well, I gotta go and... Oh, say, I've got something I want to return to you.
Yeah, what?
This.
I went out like a light when he hit me. And a few minutes later,
Kenny.
when I came to, Steffi was holding me in her arms,
Kenny.
stroking my head and smiling.
Kenny, he said to tell you no hard feelings. But when anyone socks Dick Gilman over the head, he gets socked back, even if they're the best of friends.
Steffi, you know something?
What, darling?
You're cute with stars in your hair.
Escape is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald. Today we presented transcribed Finger of Doom by Cornell Woolrich, adapted for radio by John Dunkel. Starred as Kenny was Harry Bartell, with Ed Begley as Gilman. Featured in the cast were Joy Terry, Edgar Barrier, Louise Arthur, Peter Krause, and Kay Miller. Special music was arranged and played by Ivan Ditmars. Next week, you are clinging to a narrow window ledge, your strength running out. While before your eyes, seen through the window, the most beautiful girl in the world is about to die. Because of you. Next week, we escape with an unusual story, The Adaptive Ultimate, by John Jessel. Be sure to tune in again at this same time next week, when once again we offer you Escape. You can escape again tomorrow night when CBS's famous dramatic series presents screen star Edmund O'Brien in another special Sunday night Escape broadcast at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. Mr. O'Brien will star as an explorer who becomes a prisoner in a beautiful and strange country populated by blind men. Be sure to hear tomorrow night's Escape, starring Edmund O'Brien in H.G. Wells' famous story, Country of the Blind, on most of these same CBS network stations. Now, stay tuned for 5 minutes of the latest news, to be followed by Let's Pretend, over most of these same stations. This is Roy Rowan speaking for CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Tired of the everyday routine? Ever dream of a life of romantic adventure? Want to get away from it all?
We offer you Escape, starring Edmund O'Brien. Escape, designed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure.
You are trapped in a remote valley of the Andes, walled in by sheer rock precipices, and surrounding you, closing in on you, is a band of blind men who want your eyes.
Today, with Edmund O'Brien as Nunez, we escape to the mountains of Ecuador and to a remarkable world where sight is unknown, as H.G. Wells imagined it in his gripping story, The Country of the Blind.
My name is Ibarra. I'm a mining engineer in Quito, Ecuador, high in the towering Andes. Up until a year ago, my chief sport was mountain climbing. My last climb was an attempt to scale the remote and forbidding peak of Parascotopetl, a 20,000-foot crag unconquered by man. It is unconquered still. 3,000 feet from the icy summit, we turned back and fled for our lives. All of us escaped except one, a guide named Nunez, who slipped over the frightful precipice and disappeared in the vast chasm yawning 10,000 feet beneath us. The horror of that man's fall has terrorized my dreams for a year. Because of it, I've forsaken mountain climbing for the rest of my life. And that decision still stands, even though today I have seen Nunez. He was sitting on the steps at my shack when I arrived at the mine this morning. At first, I didn't recognize him. He was so much changed. I thought he was some ragged beggar.
Is it you, Senor Ibarra?
My name is Ibarra, yes. What do you want?
You do not know me, senor?
Well, no, well, you look like a man I knew once, but
he's dead. Dead on the slopes of Parascotopetl.
Nunez.
Nunez. That is my name, senor. At least, that is the name I remember.
But you fell. I saw you fall.
Yes.
It's impossible that you could have lived.
Perhaps the gods of the mountains had some reason to spare me.
Nunez, if we had any idea that you were alive, but you went down thousands of feet. We couldn't even attempt to find your body.
I know. I do not blame you. You could not have reached me. And if you had, I should not have welcomed you. At first. But then... later.
What do you mean?
Senor, you will not believe what I have to tell.
I can hardly believe I'm seeing you, talking to you. Tell me what happened to you.
You remember that night? The night I fell? We had been toiling all day, inching our way up a steep ice wall. And as darkness came, we found a narrow ledge, barely 3 feet wide.
But we can get our shelter wall up and tell some of this way. That'll be welcome.
Yes, but first we will rest a moment.
Look at that icy devil up there, glistening in the moonlight.
There's another 3,000 feet of sheer ice wall. We'll have to cut our own holes from now on. There won't even be ledges like this for resting places.
See why no one's ever made it. You think we ought to go on?
I don't know. Nunez, what do you think?
It is not my place to say, senor. I was hired to go to the top. I agreed.
But what do you really think?
If I believed in the gods of the mountain as the Indians do, I should be frightened now.
Why?
Because we have invaded the Forbidden Circle. This part of the Andes is unmapped and almost unknown, senor. It is an easy thing to believe strange things in this white loneliness.
Some of the legends are fascinating. I've heard of one, something about a hidden valley called the Country of the Blind.
Yes. It's supposed to be somewhere down there. See? Far below it. A fertile valley which was settled many centuries ago and then cut off by the great landslide of a rock.
But why the Country of the Blind?
Well, even before it was cut off, the people developed a strange illness. All of them slowly went blind. After that, their children were born blind. The legend is that the valley was the home of the mountain gods. It was too beautiful for human eyes.
Odd. But then it's all nonsense.
Oh. Yes, it's nonsense.
It would be pleasant to find it, though. You know the old proverb, In the country of the blind, the one-eyed man is king.
I doubt that we could ever find it. I even doubt that it exists.
Of course not. I was only joking.
Of course. Well, now if we're rested, we'll make the shelter wall, eh?
Right. I'll give you a hand in a minute. Believe me, Ibarra, the two pesos they give up is fine. They never realize...
I'm slipping! My foot slipped on the treacherous ledge and I had gone over. I slid down the icy slope for perhaps 200 yards, digging frantically with my feet, with my hands, for some kind of hold. And then I went off, falling far out into the icy black night, falling down. I fell for 1,000 feet, and then I felt a heavy, stinging impact of snow. I'd fallen onto an almost perpendicular slope, and once again I was sliding down, tumbling over and over. But now, around me, over me, an immense avalanche of snow was rumbling, sliding with me. Suddenly I realized that my own motion had almost stopped, and it was the snow that was moving. I was riding the avalanche. At almost the same moment, I went over the second cliff. It was higher than the first, much higher, perhaps 4,000 feet. I fell with the snow for what seemed minutes, every second, expecting the terrible final impact. But the impact never came. Miracle of miracles, that sheer wall blended almost imperceptibly into another slope. And again I was sliding. And gradually, as the arc of the slope curved away, I felt myself slow down. I was whirled along on top of the avalanche, and then, as it subsided, out onto the gentler snow, upon a gentler slope, and finally, I rolled to a stop and lay still. When I awoke, it was morning, and I was covered with snow. I shook off the cold white blanket, rolled over on my back, and looked up. My heart almost stopped as I saw from where I had fallen. The mountain towering 10,000 feet above me. Carefully, I felt myself. My clothes were torn. I was bruised and bleeding. I ached in every muscle, but I had not broken a single bone. I lay there and offered up a prayer to the gods of the mountain. Far below me lay a lush valley sparkling in the morning sunlight. I could see the stately trees and green meadows fresh with dew. I started down, but it was still an arduous descent. The farther down I got, the more I realized the beauty of the scene. This was a hidden paradise I'd fallen into. And I was the first man ever to see it. So I thought. But I was wrong. I realized that first when I saw the cultivation in the meadows. And then the walks. Well-kept stone walks laid in a symmetrical pattern all over the valley. And then I saw them. There were men and women lying under the trees, resting. Nearby, a collection of windowless huts marked the village, and the plastering of the houses was done in a wild variety of colors. I thought to myself, the plasterer who did that must have been blind as a bat. Then I saw two of the men quite close to me. They were standing on a bridge over the little stream. They were dressed in odd, loose clothing, and there was a strange look about their faces. They failed to notice me as I approached until I shouted. Suddenly, they looked up attentively in my direction. I waved wildly at them, but they took no notice. Why, the fools must be blind. Blind? Could it be that I had fallen into the country of the blind? In the country of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. I walked towards the men by the stream, and I spoke to them. Hello. You needn't be afraid. I won't hurt you. I come in peace.
It is a man. Or a spirit come down from the rock.
I'm a man, all right, just like you, but I've had a miraculous escape, and
Now I find myself here in your valley.
Valley? Come hither. Let me feel of you.
Well, certainly. Yes. My face? You see, I'm indeed a man, like yourself. My lips, they move with speech. My eyes... Oh. Careful, Ed. Gently on the eyes.
Eyes? That is strange. Feel this, Courier.
Yes, I feel.
Careful. Did you feel my eyelids flutter?
He is but imperfectly formed. Some strange bulge there. Unseemly.
No, your eyes are shrunken in, but mine are whole. I can see.
See? Pedro, he is a strange wild one. Where does he come from?
Down out of the rock?
No, from over the mountains, out of the country, beyond where men can see. From Bogota, where there are 100,000 people, and the city stretches out of sight.
Sight? What strange words he uses, without meaning. And feel the coarseness of his hair, like a llama's.
Yes. And you have come into the world.
No, out of the world. The big world beyond the mountains. The world that stretches 12 days' journey to the sea.
Our fathers have told us men may be made by forces of nature. It is the warmth of things and moisture and rottenness.
Come, let us lead him to the elder.
There's no need to lead me. I can see.
See?
Yes, of course. Oh. I didn't see a water bucket.
His senses are still imperfect. He stumbles and talks meaningless words. Lead him by the hand.
But look, well, all right. These people had been blind for centuries. They had forgotten even the words associated with seeing. And they thought I was an idiot, only half-formed. Especially when they led me into the pitch blackness of one of their windowless huts, and I stumbled over something.
1,000 pardons, Medina Sorote. He is a clumsy one.
I'm sorry I fell down. I couldn't see in the darkness.
Who is this, and what is he saying? He is but newly formed. He has come down from the rocks. He stumbles as he walks and mingles words that mean nothing with his speech.
He is a wild man out of the rock.
No, I come from Bogota, over the mountains.
You hear? Bogota. He uses wild words. His mind is hardly formed. He has only the beginnings of speech.
Bogota?
Yes, I come from the great world where men have eyes and see.
That must be his name, Bogota.
He stumbled twice as we came thither. He must be tall.
Now, don't you understand? I can see, but not in the dark. To you, darkness or light, it's all the same. But to me, to us who can see, to us outside in the world beyond the mountains...
Mountains? What are mountains?
Well, very well, then. Beyond the rocks.
There is nothing beyond the rocks. That is the end of the world.
Oh, but surely you must realize that the sky above covers more than this valley.
Sky? Above? There is nothing above but the roof of rock. He is very raw, my children. He shall have to be taught from the beginnings. Take him away, feed him. It shall be done. But guide him. See that he does not stumble over my daughter again.
Do not fear, Father. I shall guide him myself and feed him.
Very well.
Come, take my hand.
Thank you. It'll be a pleasure to get outside again out of this darkness.
Come this way.
Thank you. What is your name?
Medina Sorote.
Mine is Juan Nunez. And I... sunlight. This is better. And now I... You're beautiful. I cannot tell what a wonderful thing you are to see.
Phyllis, I'm afraid for you.
Afraid?
Yes. You do not learn quickly and cease speaking such strange words. They may not be so kind to you. They might be angry. They might even destroy you.
This thought had not occurred to me before. Suddenly, I had a twinge of fear. Still, the proverb kept running through my mind. In the country of the blind, a one-eyed man is king. But try as I would, I could not make them understand my wonderful gift of sight. They simply could not comprehend it. Worse, they were not impressed. They thought me stupid and untaught, almost an idiot. Day by day, I learned their peaceful ways, but they could not learn mine. It was getting on my nerves, and theirs too, perhaps.
Bogota? Bogota, come hither. Bogota, you move not.
No, and I won't, you old beetle. I'll show you. I'll leave the path.
Bogota, trample not on the grass. It is not allowed.
Well, how did you know I stepped on the grass?
I heard, of course.
Heard? Well, I didn't make a sound.
Why do you not come when I call you? Can you not hear the path as you walk?
I can see it.
There is no such word as see. Cease this folly and follow the sound of my feet.
My time will come.
You will learn. There is much to learn in the world.
Has no one ever told you, in the country of the blind, the one-eyed man is king?
Blind? What is blind?
Oh, never mind. Go on.
Bogota, I must warn you. Just keep quiet and learn. And stop this nonsense about seeing.
Nonsense, is it? Well, I'll show you. I've taken enough of your insults. Unformed mind, got no sense yet. I'll be king here. I can see and I'll be king.
Bogota, stop it.
No. No, I'm through with your orders. I'll show you what an advantage sight can be. I can hit you, hurt you, and you can't see me to strike back.
Bogota, there must be no violence. You must come peacefully.
By heaven, I'll hit you if you come any closer. I swear I will.
Bogota, put down that spade and come off the grass.
You don't understand. You're blind and I can see. I can see.
Now, Bogota, you must not do
I'll hurt you, I swear. Leave me alone. I hit his arm, turned and ran over the wall, outside their valley, back to the rocks, to the precipitous cliff I'd come down. But when I reached that sheer rock wall, I knew there was no place to go. For 2 days and nights, I stayed outside the valley, hungry and cold. And then I realized the hopelessness of my position. I was trapped. I must spend the rest of my life here. There was no way out. So I went back. I confess I was mad. I admit I'm only newly made.
That is better. And you still think you can see?
No, that was folly. The word means nothing less than nothing.
And what is overhead?
Rock. There's a roof above the world, a roof of rock and very smooth.
Very well. And now...
Look, before you ask me any more, give me food or I'll die.
Very well, give him food.
Yes, Father.
And after that, the most menial tasks in the village. Guard him well, and perhaps he shall learn yet.
Thank you. That's better. You're kind, Medina Sarota, very kind.
I am glad you came back.
You are? If they were all like you, I should never have run away.
What was that word you said I was?
Beautiful.
It means something nice.
Something very nice. Medina Sarota, why is it you have no husband?
I have a disfigurement. These long hairs.
Your eyelashes? But they're beautiful.
They're considered a disfigurement.
Why, you're the loveliest girl in the valley. But they wouldn't know, would they? And so, you have no lover?
No.
Medina Sarota, what do you think of me? Do you think of me as an idiot like all the rest?
Oh, no. You have much to learn, but you will learn it, I'm sure. And you are kind and gentle, and your voice is soft. You speak the words that are soft and warm. No one has ever spoken such words to me.
I shall speak them often, Medina Sarota. You are the only one in this valley, in this world, I care for. And so it began. I, the village idiot, the slave boy who dreamed to be king, I, with my eyes still whole, fell in love with Medina Sarota, the daughter of the elder of the village. Only to her could I open my heart without fear. Only to her could I speak of the beauty I could see around me. It's a beautiful valley, Medina, green with grass and yellow with sunlight and flowers, bright flowers dotting the hills. And in the cool of night, the stars gleam like diamonds in the sky.
Oh, the words sound lovely. But what are stars?
Well, they're... No, you wouldn't understand.
And what do you mean, in the cool of the night? You still get that confused one. The night is warm. The day is cool.
No, it's you here who have them backwards, because the darkness means nothing to you, so you work in the cool of night and sleep in the heat of day, but...
You are teasing me.
No, I'm not. Oh, what does it matter? All that matters is you. You here beside me. Medina Sarota. I love you.
And I love you.
I know they still think me an idiot, but you listen to what I say, and you don't think me an idiot, do you?
Oh, I like to hear you speak.
Then, will you marry me?
I would be very happy.
No, I will not have it.
But, Father...
He is an idiot. He has delusions. He cannot do anything
But
right.
he is getting better. He's better than he was. And he is strong and kind. Stronger and kinder than anyone in the world. And he loves me. And I love him.
No, I will not have it.
Great Fire, if you please.
Yes? What is it, good doctor?
I have examined Bogota, and the case is clear to me. I think very probably he might be cured.
Ah? And how might that be done?
His brain is affected by something. I believe I know what it is. Those queer things he calls eyes. Where we have but an agreeable depression, he has great lumps. Consequently, his brain is in a constant state of irritation.
But what can be done to cure him?
It's a very simple surgical operation. To remove the cause of the irritation, we will merely cut out his eyes.
But they say it will make you well.
You don't understand, Medina Sarota. My world is sight. You wouldn't want me to lose my most precious possession.
I don't know.
Well, there are so many beautiful things to see. The flowers, the far sky with its drifting clouds, sunsets, stars, and you. Just to see you, it's good to have sight. And I would never see you again.
I wish sometimes you would not talk like that.
Like what?
I know it's pretty. It's your imagination. I love it. But now...
Now? You want me to... Medina Sarota, if I were to consent to this...
Oh, if you would, if only you would.
What else can I do?
My dearest one. My dearest with a tender voice. I will repay you.
Oh, Medina.
Be brave. Carry my voice in your thoughts. Now, I must go. And tomorrow...
Yes?
Tomorrow will be forever.
Goodbye. Goodbye, Medina. I suppose I knew it then when I said that. I only meant to go up on the rocks and look out over the valley, to spend my last days feasting my eyes on the wonderful, beautiful world of light and color. But when I got there, it was too beautiful, too lovely. This valley, this home of the mountain gods, beautiful and forbidden. I drank it in, the green of the fields, the blue of the gently curving stream, the orange of the lichen and the rocky crevices. Then I climbed higher to see the great snow-capped peaks towering above and away to the distant sky. And higher, as the shadows turned the snow to purple and crimson and deep blue. The valley was far below, beautiful as a painting. But like a painting, it looked unreal. Medina Sirota was small and far away, a distant dream, and the world of sight was here, all around, overpowering, wonderful. I turned and began to climb up that sheer rock wall. How many months it took me to make my way out over those mountains, over glaciers and snowfields and sheer precipices, I cannot guess. How I lived through the cold and the hunger of it, I cannot tell you. But I am here at last, back from the country of the blind.
Good heavens, man. What an experience.
Terrible and wonderful.
But you're not sorry you came back.
Sorry? I see her face clearly now. It's the only thing I see.
Nunez, come. You need food. Here, take my hat.
Thank you. Where is it, Senor Ibarra?
Nunez.
Yes. The gods of the mountains have had their revenge. Those months of crawling over the snow and ice with the sun glaring down, yes, I am blind.
Escape, produced and directed by Norman Macdonnell, has brought you Edmund O'Brien in The Country of the Blind by H.G. Wells. The radio adaptation was by John Dunkel. Featured in the cast were Barry Kroger as Ibarra and Peggy Weber as Medina Sirota, with Harry Bartell, Byron Kane, Edgar Barrier, and Wilm Herbert. The special musical score was conducted by Leith Stevens. Next week.
You are prisoner in the magnificent mountain retreat of the richest man in the world, yet in love with his beautiful daughter. While haunting you, terrifying you, is the certain knowledge that the only sure escape would be death.
Next week, Escape with F. Scott Fitzgerald. Amazing story, The Diamond as Big as the Ritz. Good night, then, until this same time next week, when once again CBS offers you Escape. Edmund O'Brien appeared through the courtesy of Warner Brothers, producers of the Michael Curtiz Technicolor production, My Dream is Yours, starring Jack Carson and Doris Day. This is Roy Rowan speaking. In just a few moments, the laughs start rolling on CBS's great Sunday Night of Stars. Within the next 2 hours, 5 of America's top comedians will unroll their newest wares. Lum and Abner, Amos and Andy, and Jack Benny. Nowhere else in radio will you find such superb and varied comedy as in this 2-hour period. Lum and Abner and Amos and Andy will be heard over most of these same CBS network stations. And now, stay tuned for the Jack Benny Show, which comes to you over most of these stations with the heartthrob of Waukegan facing the rivalry of Hollywood's Van Johnson. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Tired of the everyday routine? Ever dream of a life of romantic adventure? Want to get away from it all?
We offer you Escape. Escape, transcribed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure.
You are standing outside a room, horror gripping you. While before your eyes, seen through the transom window, the most beautiful girl in the world is about to die because of you.
escape from reality with the fascinating story of a girl who lived a weird second life, as John Jessel told it in his gripping story, The Adaptive Ultimate.
No, Daniel, I can't do it. You have a very interesting theory,
It's more than a theory, Dr. Bach. I've proved it. It works. I tried my serum on tubercular guinea pigs, and it cured them. They adapted themselves to the tubercular bacillus and lived. I tried my serum on a dog with rabies. He adapted himself, too. I tried it on a cat with a broken spine. The cat instantly adapted itself to its injury so that the spine had time to knit and heal. Don't you see what a tremendous discovery this is?
Yes, perhaps.
But think what that would mean in accident cases. There'd be no further need for emergency surgery. Don't you see that? No matter what the condition, the injury to the body, a mere injection of my serum would permit the patient instantly to adapt himself to his condition and live.
No matter what his injury.
Exactly.
A serum made from insects.
From a common fruit fly, the most adaptable of living organisms. Tear off a wing and it grows a new one. Tear off its head even. Stick on a new head and that too will adhere in time. Think of imparting that same adaptability to human beings.
To grow new heads, it has merit.
Oh, now, please, Dr. Bach.
All right. No, seriously. I know this may be a great thing, but to permit you to experiment on a human being, no.
The most hopeless case you can find, Dr. Bach. Someone already doomed.
Well, if someday I discover in the hospital a hopeless case, understand it will be hopeless.
I understand.
And if the patient shall consent, then you will have your human guinea pig. Well, Dr. Scott, you requisition for yourself a hopeless case? Permit me. Here is your guinea pig.
What is it, Dr. Bach? TB?
Yeah, final stage. A matter of hours at most. She might have been attractive once, but now, hair like string, skinny like a skeleton, and flesh like wax.
Dr. Bach, you call this a fair test? I said hopeless, but I didn't say a corpse.
The lady is returning to life, such as it is. Well, Dr. Scott, I regret I have not a more palatable subject for your experiment, but this is what I promised, a hopeless case.
It's all right, I'll try it. Oh, what's her name?
Let me see, it's on the chart here. Zelas.
What was that?
Her name is Kira Zelas.
Oh.
Young lady. Permit me, I am Dr. Hermann Bach, Chief of the Staff, and I would like to introduce one of our promising young doctors.
He wants a date, I suppose.
Miss Zelas.
Hello, Brown Eyes.
What?
Your eyes are brown, aren't they?
Miss Zelas, you see, I've perfected this serum.
I like brown eyes.
This serum might help you, but it has never been tried on a human being before. I thought if you have no objection...
What are the odds?
Odds? Well, actually, you've everything to gain.
And nothing to lose.
Well?
How right you are. Okay. I'm all yours, Brown Eyes. Go ahead. Experiment away.
Dr. Bach, prepare her arm.
24 hours and she is yet alive. I would have said yesterday it would be impossible she should survive the night. So it is now 48 hours, and she actually seems better. But miracles such as this have happened before, and without serums. A week, and she still lives. Each day she becomes better. It is miraculous. The spots on her lungs are disappearing. Her coughing is stopped. There is no sign of bacillus in the culture. But even more amazing, a reaction to abrasions, skin punctures. Yesterday I took a blood specimen. Before I had 1 cc, the puncture in her skin had closed. Yes, in 30 seconds. The ordinary person, it takes A day, 2 days for it to heal. With Miss Kira Zelas, 30 seconds. It is amazing. Then I will not dispute it. Your serum has worked a miracle. She is cured. And now I must just discharge her from the hospital.
Well, Dr. Bach,
You had forgotten that time must come sometime, But you see, I must. She is cured, and we need the room.
Well, yes, I know, but... Well, she should be under observation. We don't know what effects will show up.
I think, Daniel, you have an extraordinary interest in Miss Zela. So I have asked her to come here. She is outside. Shall we invite her in?
Why, yes, of course.
Send in Miss Zelas, please. Now, observe well your miracle. Miss Zelas, come in. Sit down.
Thanks. Oh, hello, Brown Eyes.
Hello, Kira.
I have sent for you, Miss Zelas, because I have good news. Today I am discharging you from the hospital.
Oh?
Yeah? Today you are free to go. That pleases you?
Madly.
Kira, you have people, perhaps? A family?
Aren't we all brothers and sisters under the skin?
Miss Zelas, I will come to the point. I wish to make you a proposition. I mean purely a scientific...
Yes, I know. An experiment.
Precisely. We are interested, Dr. Scott and I, to observe the further effects of the serum he gave you.
Yes.
I will pay you board and room and $30 a week. You will live at my house. I have a housekeeper, Mrs. Getz. She will look after you. Is that satisfactory?
Wouldn't I be a fool to say no?
Excellent.
Does, Brown Eyes live there, too?
No, but Dr. Scott will continue to have a clinical interest in the experiment. Miss Zelas, have no fear.
Good.
Yes. Well, it is now almost time for dinner. I will take you, Miss Zelas. You will join us, Dr. Scott?
Oh, yes, fine, Dr. Bach.
Very well. We shall meet outside in, 10 minutes?
That'll do me nicely.
Miss Zelas, you wish to wait here or maybe outside? A little fresh air?
I think I could use a little air.
Good. There is a little park across the street. You will find benches there to rest. We will meet at the front entrance in 10 minutes.
Dr. Bach, what is it? What's the matter?
Some sort of commotion across the street in the park. Oh. Where is Kira?
Well, I thought she'd be here with you.
Perhaps she is still over there in the park.
What do you suppose? Come on! Dr. Bach, it is Kira. Kira, let me through, please. Kira, let us through, please. Officer, what's happened? What is this? Why are you holding this lady?
You know this woman?
Yes, of course. What is it? What's the matter here?
Plenty. Your lady friend here merely walks up to an old gent about 60 or so, picks up a nice hefty rock, and beats his brains out.
Officer, there must be some awful mistake.
Yeah, her mistake. Cold-blooded murder. Come on, sister. There's the wagon.
But, officer...
You'd better come along, too, mister. Mona Lisa here don't seem to be much in the mood for talking. We'll need someone to tell the desk sergeant her name.
This is terrible, seeing you here like this. I've got to get you out of here. I've got to help you.
It's not so bad when you're here.
Well, listen, this is all a terrible mistake. If you'll tell me what...
Mistake?
Well, yes, of course. Kira, you didn't kill that man.
If I said yes, what would you do?
Why, I'd tell him you weren't responsible. I'd tell him about the serum. I'd tell him it was my fault, that somehow the serum I gave you caused your mind to snap, something that would be the only explanation.
You'd do this? Ruin your career, no doubt? Just to save me?
Well, yes, of course I would.
And what would they do to me?
I don't know exactly. Put you away, under observation, something. Kira,
Then my answer's no, I did not kill the man. Oh, don't worry, I won't be convicted. I'll take care of myself very well. I'll, as you say, adapt myself to the situation.
All right, now, Mr. Salvatore, continue. Tell the court in your own words precisely what happened.
This old man, you see, is buy circus peanuts from me every day. For months, every day. And this one day, pull out his pocketbook. It's a billfold. And I'm look, it's stuffed with the bills. The big money. He says, Salvatore, can I make a change for $20? And I'm a laugh. I say, mister, I'm a peanut man. You take the peanuts and you pay me tomorrow. He said, thank you very much. He turned around, and then here's this dame she pick up, it's a great big stone, and it conks him. It's murder.
I object, Your Honor.
Objection sustained. Continue, Mr. Salvatore.
Oh, she nothing more to say. This dame, she bend over and she reach in his pocket to take the money. I'm a grabber. People come, police come, and
Mr. Salvatore, can you describe this young lady to us?
Oh, I remember her very well. She's skinny. She's ain't no beauty, you know. Got the black suit, the brown hair, eyes, don't know, dark, you know, maybe brown or blue.
Thank you, Mr. Salvatore. Your witness.
Mr. Salvatore, you say that the young lady, the assailant, had brown hair and dark eyes?
Si. Brown hair, dark blue eyes.
And do you see the young lady in the courtroom?
Oh, si. She's a sit right to...
What's the matter, Mr. Salvatore? Are you pointing at Miss Zalis?
Si.
May I ask the defendant to rise, please? Miss Zalis, will you kindly remove your hat, please?
Dr. Bach, look. Her hair, it's become the color of aluminum.
Your Honor, I submit that this defendant does not possess dark hair, nor, if you will observe, dark eyes. I am prepared, therefore, to submit a lock of her hair to be tested by any chemist the court may appoint to prove that the pigmentation is entirely natural. Now, Mr. Salvatore, do you still say that this is the young lady you saw in the park?
I think she's...
Is she?
Mamma mia, no!
Good Lord, Dr. Bach, that hair of hers. Did you see it? It was the color of aluminum. She was beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. And so she has been acquitted. They call her innocent. Daniel, I am a convert to your great principle of adaptability. But where will it end? You start with an ideal, and you wake up to discover you have created a monster.
But she was acquitted. It was all a mistake.
You really believe that?
Dr. Bach.
Yes, Mrs. Gritz?
She is here, Doctor.
She?
That woman in the newspaper.
Oh.
Kira is here?
You said she was so poor, such a church mouth. Ah, you should see her.
What do you mean, Mrs. Gritz?
So fine, so great a lady.
I'll go and talk to her, Dr. Bach.
Hello, Brown Eye.
Hello, Kira.
Aren't you glad to see me?
Oh, yes. Yes, of course. Oh, congratulations on your acquittal today. We were there.
I know. I sensed it. I was hurt that you didn't come up and congratulate me.
Well, there were photographers and what... Why, Kira, your hair, it's black again.
Isn't it always? Don't you like it?
Oh, yes. Yes, of course. It's beautiful.
Am I beautiful? Brown eyes.
Very, very beautiful.
And are you happy to have me back? I always did like brown eyes.
Kira.
Tell me, how do you like my new clothes? My gown?
Why, it's very nice.
Nice. It's exquisite. I have a whole new wardrobe, hats, shoes.
Well, how, Kira? Where did you get the money?
Money?
You only had $3 when you left the hospital.
Oh. So I did.
Kira. Kira, you did take that wallet from the old man.
Why, naturally.
You did murder him.
Certainly. Oh, come. Don't look so shocked. Oh, I'm tired, Brown Eyes. You'll excuse me if I appropriate Dr. Bach's room. Good night.
Dr. Bach, we've got to do something.
Yes, Daniel, we do.
I haven't slept a wink all night trying to think of what we can do.
I've been here in the laboratory all night. I think I know.
What?
This serum of yours, it has accomplished a miracle, yeah. It is the adaptive ultimate. Changes that take the ordinary person days or months, she accomplishes instantly. She walks into the sunlight. She is tan. She walks out. She is pale again. When she is in danger, she adapts. She could survive the electric chair, the hangman's noose. She was in danger in the courtroom. She adapted. She changed her whole appearance at will, so she could not be identified.
Yes, I know.
Oh, you must not blame yourself. You could not know what you were creating. Now, this morning, I operated on one of your guinea pigs. I found this. The pineal gland hypertrophied. That is what causes it.
Well, then we could operate and maybe change her back.
Yeah, but she can adapt to anything, anesthesia included. How can we operate? Unless we get her consent.
Well, perhaps.
No, you are dreaming, Daniel. Do you really think she will consent now? Now that she has power? Perhaps more power than any human being ever possessed before. Power for evil. And she has already killed one man, remember.
But if we watched her, Doctor, kept her under guard...
Yeah, again, Pygmalion falls in love with his Galatea. No, Daniel, no. She must be destroyed. We must perform surgery at once.
But she'll die.
She will go back to what she was, with but a few hours to live. It is best, then.
Yes, I suppose so.
Yes, Mrs. Getz? Okay.
What is it, Dr. Bach?
And so perhaps she is also telepathic. She sensed what we were about to do, and now it is too late.
What do you mean?
Miss Zelas is gone. Disappeared.
Dr. Bach, did you call for me?
Yeah, Daniel. Have you seen the evening paper yet?
No, not yet.
Then here. After 2 months, there is news of our Miss Kira Zelas.
What? Let me see that. Where? Oh. The surprise of the evening was the appearance of John Callan, Ambassador at Large, Diplomat Extraordinary, the man slated to head the forthcoming World Atomic Energy Control Commission. Mr. Callan, one of Washington's confirmed bachelors, squired the gorgeous Kira Zelas.
You see? She has become gorgeous, our drab little urchin.
Miss Zelas, the dazzling beauty who affects a dark wig by day and a white one at night.
A great power of adaptability, courtesy of Dr. Daniel Scott. Dark by day, white by night.
Well, what are we going to do, Doctor?
Do?
The World Atomic Energy Control, the one real hope of world peace. Kira isn't interested in peace.
What can we do? Surgery, I know. But politics? We must wait and see. We must wait and see how far your mad woman will go.
Washington is agog with rumors about the romance between glamorous Kira Zelas and John Callan, the newly appointed head of the World Atomic Energy Control, one of the most powerful political figures on the globe.
John Callan leaves tomorrow for the crucial atomic energy conferences at Geneva, Switzerland, and sailing on the same boat as the exotic Miss Kira Zelas, with whom his name has been frequently linked. Rumor has it Miss Zelas acts as a sort of unofficial assistant to Mr. Callan, thus making her one of the most important women in the world.
Glamorous, exotic. Of such fragile stuff is world peace fashioned these days, Daniel.
I wonder what she intends to...
Somebody calling at dinner time?
Oh, sit still, Dr. Bach. I'll see who it is. Yes? Kira.
Hello, Brown Eyes. May I come in?
Why, yes, of course.
Oh, our exotic guinea pig,
Good evening, Dr. Bach. I'm not intruding.
Of course not.
You're very kind. John and I... You read about Mr. Callan?
Oh, yes.
We're leaving for Europe tomorrow for the conferences in Switzerland.
Yes.
He had a series of meetings to attend tonight, so I told him I would stay here.
You're staying here?
I took the liberty of saying you were my uncle, Dr. Bach.
Oh.
John will call for me in the morning on his way to the airport. We're leaving at 8. I do hope I'm not too late for dinner.
Not at all. In fact, we're very happy to have you here. Aren't we, Dr. Scott?
Kira.
Hello, Brown Eyes.
What are you doing out here in the garden?
Waiting for you.
You knew I'd follow you?
Of course. Have you missed me?
You know I have. Oh, Kira, listen to me. Do you love this John Callan?
When I want love, I'll come to you, Brown Eyes.
Well, then why? What is it, money?
Money? I don't need money anymore. What does an empress need with money?
Empress?
That's what you've made me. The most powerful woman the world's ever known. John Callan. He's supposed to be important. But in my hands, he's clay, to be molded as I wish. Do you see what that means?
Yes, I see. You hold the fate of the world in your hands.
Exactly. To do with as I want. And I shall. Would you like to rule the world with me, Brown Eyes?
Kira, you're evil.
What is good? What's evil? Come here, Brown Eyes. Look at me. And forget such things.
Are you asleep, Dr. Bach?
Sleep? Who can sleep?
Kira's insane, Doctor. Do you know what she's planning to do?
I heard.
Oh. Maybe we could get to this Callan.
And then what?
Well, if we could talk to him, tell him...
Tell him what? Didn't I talk to you? Would you listen? Where is she?
Oh, she's gone to sleep.
I tell you, there's only one remedy, surgery. It is the only hope.
But she'll never consent to surgery, Dr. Bach, and she's probably immune to anesthesia.
Maybe not all anesthesia.
What?
Downstairs in my laboratory, I have a tank of ethyl chloride.
You mean operate here tonight?
Yeah, tonight. Right here, while she sleeps. All right, then. Now stop staring down at her. Pour the anesthesia onto the cone. Hurry.
That ought to be enough to anesthetize an elephant.
Onto the face, quickly.
All right.
Stand tightly. Hold it
I'm
close.
trying. She's forcing my hands. I can't hold her. She's too strong.
Oh. Did you think you could make me unconscious? You were going to operate on me. Is that what you were planning? Or were you going to slit my throat with that scalpel? Look.
Kira, don't!
There. You see? I plunge your knife into my heart. I withdraw it. And the wound is healed. Now, go away, both of you. I want to sleep. John will be calling for me at 8.
In the morning. 2.5 hours more and she will leave. And the world will be one step nearer chaos. We are scientists, then. We have a responsibility to civilization. We must find a way to destroy this...
Carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide?
It's a fundamental biological law. No human can survive in its own waste product. Carbon dioxide is human waste. Dr. Bach, if we could fill the room where she's sleeping with carbon dioxide, she'd become unconscious. You could operate, then. Who are you calling?
The hospital. I will have them send over 2 tanks of carbon dioxide.
Do you think it should work, then?
We must try anything. Hello, this is Dr. Bach. Let me talk to surgery. Now hurry, it is an emergency. The tube is ready. You sealed the crack under the door?
Yes.
You closed the window?
Yes.
All right. Let us start the gas. Then, through the transom above the bedroom door, you will be able to observe her reactions. You placed the lighted candle inside the room?
Yes, Doctor. I left a candle on the table.
Observe it carefully.
All right.
When it goes out, your Miss Kira Zelas should be unconscious. Then, can you see inside the room from up there?
Yes, Doctor. Candle is flickering, Doctor. Wait. No, it's still flickering. It's just gone out, Doctor.
Excellent. It means there is now a concentration of 8 or 10% carbon dioxide. The average person would long since be dead.
Doctor?
Yeah, Dan, what?
Oh, just a minute.
Yes, yes.
She's breathing much more quickly now, convulsively.
Changed stop breathing.
She's opening her eyes now.
What?
She's getting up.
Getting up?
She's staggering. Holding her throat, Doctor. She's gasping. She's moving toward the door. She's trying to unlock the...
So.
She's seen me. She's trying to...
What is it?
She's collapsed. It's over.
Yes?
How do you do, Dr. Bach? I'm John Callan.
Yes, of course. Come in.
I haven't taken you away from anything.
Oh, no. We were performing some surgery, my associate and I have a miniature surgery here for emergencies, and we have just finished.
Is that the patient on the table?
Yes.
Is she...
Yes, she is dead.
Too bad. Seedy-looking creature, wasn't she?
She was a charity case.
Well, I won't keep you. Is Kira here?
No, she changed her plans. She said there were some things she wished to do, and she would meet you at the airport.
Well, that's a woman's prerogative, isn't it, changing plans?
Yes.
I'd better get a move on, then. Nice to see you, Doctor. I hope we'll meet again when I return from Europe.
Yes, that will be nice, Mr. Callan, and good luck on your mission.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye. Well, Daniel, maybe we will get some sleep now. Then?
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry, Doctor. I was daydreaming. She's lovely, isn't she?
Lovely. Yeah, then lovely. May she always be in your memory.
Escape is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald. Today we have presented transcribed The Adaptive Ultimate by John Jessel, adapted for radio by Chet Spurgeon and Herb Futran, with editorial supervision by John Dunkel, starring Edgar Barrier as Dr. Bach and Stacey Harris as Dan Scott. Featured in the cast were Elsie Holmes, Frank Gerstle, Larry Dobkin, Tom Charlesworth, and Ann Morrison. Special music was arranged and played by Ivan Ditmars. Next week,
you are trapped in a dark, empty house. A girl lying dead at your feet. And surrounding you, closing in on you, are the band of killers, deadly enemies of your country and yourself. And they are intent on murdering you.
Next week, we escape with the famous story, Confidential Agent by Graham Greene. Be sure to tune in at this same time next week, when once again we offer you Escape. This is Roy Rowan speaking for CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Tired of the everyday routine? Ever dream of a life of romantic adventure? Want to get away from it all?
We offer you Escape. Escape, transcribed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure.
You are trapped in a dark, empty house. A girl lying dead at your feet. And surrounding you, closing in on you, are a band of killers, deadly enemies of your country and yourself. And they are intent on murdering you.
Today, with Barry Kroger starred as David, we escape to England and the story of a man whose life depended upon the outcome of his mission, as Graham Greene told it in his fascinating story, Confidential Agent.
getting dark as the ship threaded its way through the tugs into Dover Harbor. The thick fog gave way reluctantly to the ship. It swirled over the deck. There was a cold bite to it, chilling me inside and out. Yet in a way, this cold English fog was more comforting than the atmosphere I had left. For in my country, there was war. Already Austria had fallen before the goose-stepping armies of a madman, and now my country was fighting with its back to the wall. In order to continue the fight, we needed industrial diamonds to shape the tools of war. That's why I was now landing in England. There were others in my country, a group headed by a man known only as the Baron, who wanted to turn our country over to the invader, who would do anything to stop us from getting the diamonds we needed. So you see, my mission was a secret one. Not even our own embassy knew of it. So far, the trip had been uneventful, except for meeting the girl. Her name was Rose Cullen. At first, she seemed too curious, asking questions about my trip, my visit, my friends. And I wondered if she were working with the Baron. But as time wore on, I decided I'd been mistaken, and I accepted her offer to drive me to London. 20 minutes after we had docked, we were through the customs and walking towards the car park. Rose suddenly asked me to excuse her for a moment. Almost before I could answer her, she had vanished in the fog.
Good evening, David.
Baron.
I've been expecting you.
We have nothing to talk about, Baron.
I think we could find a subject. Diamonds, for example. Or perhaps I could interest you in accepting, let us say, 2,000 pounds for our point of view. Say 2,000 pounds.
I still say we have nothing to talk about.
An honest man. It's a very dangerous hobby, David.
Honesty?
You may remember an old saying in our country. The honest man and the thief both pay the same price, to death. Goodbye, David.
He raised his hand in an open palm salute and walked away, the fog quickly swirling up to hide him. There was a shot aimed at me. I jumped back against the wall. There was nothing to see but fog. Gray wisps of fog blanketing out everything. There was no way of telling from where death had tried to strike or from where it might strike again. I heard her returning. Had she left me to give them their chance? Or had it been her finger, manicured and perfumed, that had curled around the trigger?
Sorry to be so long, David. Are you ready?
Yes. I was talking to your friend, the Baron.
The Baron? Oh, you must be mistaken. I don't know a Baron. Come along. Did he say he knew me?
No. Perhaps I am mistaken.
Of course, it might be someone I met at father's. He loves to surround himself with titles.
Oh, who is your father?
Ah, here we are. Will you drive? I'm simply at a source.
All right.
My father? Oh, he's Lord Bendage. Didn't you know?
Lord Bendage? But I thought your name is Cullen.
Of course. My father's name was Edward Cullen. After his first £1 million, he became Edward, Lord Bendage. It's really quite simple.
I came here to do business with Lord Bendage. Isn't that coincidence?
Everybody I meet has business with him.
I see.
I can't think of anything more dull than father's business. What are you thinking?
How, in my country, I would go along a country road like this very slowly, ready to jump into a ditch if I heard a plane. I'm not sure the war has not followed me here.
Oh, don't be silly. The only war here is between the Prime Minister who talks about peace in our time and Mr. Churchill, who talks just as long about the glory that was Britain. And nobody believes in anything.
You're very cynical for such a pretty girl.
What is there for me to believe in? My father's diamond. Hardly something to get passionate about.
You have no young man?
Oh, plenty. If I want to know who scored 60 runs in the Lancing-Brighton cricket match, or the odds at Epsom Downs. But there's no excitement.
If it's excitement you want, perhaps we still will get it. One of my countrymen tried to kill me just before you joined me.
Oh, really?
It's true. He or his men will certainly try again before I reach your father.
Oh, don't be so melodramatic. Things like that don't happen except in thrillers. Unless, of course, you're a spy. Are you?
No. No, I'm more of a confidential agent.
What's the matter?
What's that ahead of us?
Oh, it's just a lorry.
Why is he blocking the road?
He stalled, probably.
I'm sorry you only step in this
But
road.
it's only someone out of...
Hold on, we're going on.
There's a slit in the window shade. Oh, someone is trying to kill you.
Yes.
Oh, we must go to the police.
With what? We saw no one we could identify.
Oh, but we struck one of them. I felt the car hit him. Couldn't they be traced by him?
All it would prove is that I ran him down. In fact, they might use that to have me arrested.
Oh, no.
If the Baron fails to kill me, and I think I can see to that, then it would serve him almost as much to have me arrested for murder. It was late at night when we reached London. Rose wanted to drive me to my destination, but I refused. It wasn't entirely distrust, but a fear that she might lead them to me without realizing it. So she dropped me off in the West End. When she'd driven on, I stopped the taxi, gave the driver the address. He brought me to an old two-story house, its dirty gray front bearing witness to the poverty of the neighborhood.
Here you are, Governor.
This is number 10, Malone End?
That's right, Governor. Just over there. You up across the road and you'll be at the door.
How can you be so sure, driver? It's so foggy here, I can't see the number.
I counted them. Counted the houses from the corner of High Street.
I see.
That's number 10, all right.
All right.
That'll be 3 and 6, sir.
Oh, yes, of course. Here you are.
Oh, thanks very much, Governor.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. I stepped closer and peered through the fog that blanketed the buildings, though only here and there a feeble gleam of light trickling through. I stood there for a moment looking at it. There was no light visible in any of the windows, and I wondered, fear pressing in with the fog, if something had happened to our agent. I kept my hand near my gun as I pressed the button beside the door. If something had happened to our agent, this might be a trap. The door opened a few inches, and a pinched, elfin face, neither old nor young, looked out at me.
What do you want this time of night?
I'm sorry, but I'm David.
David?
D, as in diamonds.
Oh, come in. Just a minute. I'll turn on the lights. You're much younger than I thought you'd be.
We are using them younger these days.
I was just making a spot of tea. Perhaps you'd like some.
Oh, yes, I would. Very much, thank you.
You see, I've been very careful with lights since I saw someone watching the house 2 days ago.
One of the Baron's men, you think?
I don't know. I just thought it better not to take chances.
Oh, that's good, good. The Baron came over on the same boat with me.
Oh? Did he see you?
Oh, yes. Thank you.
It's all right.
We even had a short talk at the customs.
What did he say?
He offered me money for a vacation.
How much?
2,000 pounds.
You refused?
Of course.
2,000 pounds.
Oh, this tea is good after being out in the fog. Warm.
It's more money than I've ever seen in my life. How do I know you refused?
I suppose that's a question I would ask, too, were I in your place.
You know, I wonder if that isn't the Baron's biggest crime against us. That he's made us eternally suspicious of each other.
Yes, But what is your name?
Elsie.
Elsie. Well, Elsie, you don't know that I didn't take the 2,000 pounds. But I am going to see Lord Benditch tomorrow, and maybe that will prove it.
And then you'll be going back?
Monday, yes.
Oh, I see.
Now, what do you have for me?
Oh, not very much. You see, I know that the Baron has friends everywhere, even in the English government. But Lord Benditch will deal with you first if you are there on time and can prove you represent your government.
If I did not show up, then he'd be free to deal with the Baron.
Yes, that's it exactly. Now, look, if you're seeing Benditch and his syndicate tomorrow,
yes,
then I must warn you again
The shot came through the window. I leaped to the wall, turned off the light. I knelt, found her wrist. There was no pulse. Elsie was dead. Kneeling there, I cursed myself. The minute she told me that someone had been watching the house, I should have known that both of us had to get out. I should have known there was no time for tea and talk. Suddenly, I heard a sound. The door. The killer or killers were in the house. To stay there in that dark, small room, try to shoot it out with them, could have only one ending. They were blocking off the front door. I couldn't leave through a window. I'd be a perfect target that way. I began to edge toward the other door in the back. It was slow work. Then, I was in what seemed to be a kitchen. A gloomy patch of light guided me to the door. I pressed my face to the glass, strained to see outside. A man was standing, only a few feet from the back door. There's only one other way to go. Up. I slipped out of the kitchen into the hall. After what seemed hours, I found the stairway and carefully stepped on the first step. It creaked. I leaped higher up to one side, just in time. Another step. I tried again. There was only one thing to do. I raced up the stairs. I flung myself to the floor. Downstairs, I heard the front door open again. More of them had entered the house. They were taking no chances. I lay there on the floor at the head of the stairs, scarcely daring to breathe. I knew I could get anyone coming up that stairs with my gun, but was there another stairway to the second floor? I knew so many of these houses had them. Perhaps this one did too. And that someone outside. I heard something thump against the side of the house. One of them was trying to get in. One of them was coming in through some window on the second floor. From every side, death was closing in on me.
In just a moment, we will return to Escape. But first, that happy but hectic couple, Ozzie and Harriet, come home to CBS tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. So get your whole family together to welcome them home next Sunday night, when they'll be heard on most of these same CBS stations just before the Jack Benny Show. And now, with our star, Barry Kroger as David, we return to the second act of Escape and Confidential Agent.
I was on the second floor of the old house on Malin End, and the Baron's men were downstairs, slowly working their way up to me, searching me out. It was a quick decision. The open rooftop presented a chance of escape, and lying here in the dark was tempting discovery. A moment later, I was through a skylight and in the night air. 5 houses away, I found fire escape and has reached the ground. And 2 blocks farther, on Blean Street, I found a cheap hotel and registered under another name. The next morning, I took a taxi to the house of Lord Benditch. The butler, with the empty face of the typical British servant, took my coat and then showed me into the room where Lord Benditch and 4 other men waited. These men were the Diamond Syndicate.
You're the man we're expecting?
Yes. I think you know the object of my visit.
We had a letter a fortnight ago. Strange the purchase wasn't handled through your embassy or consulate. This is Mr. Forbes.
How do you do? How do you do?
Lord Petty.
Oh, my lord.
Mr. Brigstock.
How do you do, sir?
Mr. O'Grady. You'll forgive us if we get to business right away?
I should like that. Now, I'm prepared to pay the highest market price, for which I have here a side draft and a bonus of 25% after the diamonds reach my country.
You will take the diamonds yourself?
Oh, yes.
Then the bonus should be paid now.
Benditch is right, old boy. You might never go back, and then, where should we be?
Perhaps, Lord Benditch, we could accept the offer as it is if we are given notes covering the bonus.
Oh, yes. I'm quite prepared to do that.
Very well. You understand, we could do better than this, but we'd like to do business with established governments. We must, however, be certain that you have the right to speak for your government. You have your credentials, of course.
Certainly, I have them.
Something wrong?
It's extraordinary. I had them in my breast pocket with my passport here.
Perhaps you left them at your hotel. Morning after a tacky evening, Laura.
I had them right here when I entered this house.
You're implying...
I did have my papers. They've been stolen.
I dare say. Well, it's obvious we can't do business with an unaccredited agent.
Lord Benditch,
It's
they've been stolen.
rough go, old boy. But it looks like you've had it.
We are sorry, but Lord Benditch is right. We can't...
I walked slowly out of the room. I must admit they were fair. The butler must have taken the papers when he helped me off with my coat. But I had no proof. I went out into the hall, took my coat from the rack. I was about to leave when I heard my name.
David!
It was Rose Cullen.
David, did you get the diamonds from Father?
No, my papers have been stolen, and your
No.
father won't deal with me since I could not prove I represent my government. Rose, do you know, is your father's butler new?
Well, I think so, although I didn't really notice. I don't live here. I have my own apartment. You mean you think he's...
I'm sure of it. I had my papers when I came up the steps. They were gone when I went to show them to your father.
Then that means... Come along, David. We'll find out.
No, Rose, that would do no good. I'm sure that the Baron will have covered all loopholes. The papers are far away by now. No, I must think of some other way to convince your father.
Well, isn't there someone at your embassy?
I don't think so. We don't trust them. Except perhaps the second secretary. But even he may have been reached.
But we've got to do something. We can't just...
Why do you suddenly want to help me? Only last night you were laughing at me, Rose.
Maybe I was. Last night.
Well, then, why...
Oh, David, can't you guess why I want to help you? To be with you.
Rose, look.
Oh, all you think of is your stupid war. Last night I laughed at you because you were a stuffy little man from another country, filled with ideas of his own importance and briefs and papers. And now, after I've had a chance to think things over, I know this isn't true.
Rose, a man in my position has to give up many things. He has no time to...
Fall in love. Why not, David? Why not?
Rose.
Oh, all right. I won't embarrass you. Now tell me something. Forbes and Brigstock were with Father when you met?
Yes, they were.
All right, then. Brigstock is an arse, but they'll both help your country if they're sure it's all right. I'll get them, and the four of us will go to your embassy. We'll make them prove who you are.
She was right. They both did seem anxious to help, and were quite willing to go to the embassy with us. At the embassy, we waited for the second secretary. Then a man appeared. A countryman of mine, although I had never seen him before.
May I help you, gentlemen?
Yes.
My name is Forbes. This is Mr. Brigstock.
How do you do?
We are associated with Lord Benditch. This is his daughter. We are considering doing business with this other gentleman who claims to represent your government.
I know of no official representative being sent here. What is your name, sir?
It is my passport.
This is very strange. Mr. Forbes, the man whose name is on this passport is no longer alive.
Are you sure?
He was shot by the rebels.
Oh, you're lying. You didn't even look at the passport. You had your story ready before we even got here.
As a matter of fact, yes. We were warned that someone was posing as this man. We've had the Scotland Yard man here hoping he'd show up. Inspector.
Scotland Yard, eh? They'll get to the bottom of this.
I have no doubt.
Is this the man?
Yes. And here is his passport, Inspector.
I see. Well, sir, we're going to have to hold you.
On what charges, Inspector?
Well, there are several, miss. Using a forged passport, illegal entry into the country, trying to obtain a contract under false pretenses, inquiry into a hit-and-run death on the Dover Road last night, and inquiry into the death of a young woman on Malin End.
What if I refuse to accompany you, Inspector?
Well, in that case, sir, I'm afraid I'll have to force you.
If you need it, Inspector, I have a gun here.
He doesn't need it, but I...
Oh, no!
Now, stand there! Don't try to follow me through the door!
Wait, David, I'm coming with you.
The two of us backed out of the room and ran downstairs. I knew it would be only a matter of minutes before there'd be an alarm out, and Scotland Yard would be looking for me as well as the Baron's men. I'm sure that I could beat the murder charges.
But by that time, it would be too late to get the industrial diamonds to my country, even if I could buy them. Rose took me to her apartment. Then, without telling me what she was going to do, she left. An hour later, she was back.
David! It worked.
What worked?
I went to find Forbes and Brigstock. I convinced them that you don't dare stay and face the charges, and they're going to sell you the diamonds you need in spite of Father. Isn't it wonderful?
You are. I don't know how I can ever repay you.
By taking me back with you.
Rose, darling, I've told you before.
I'm not asking you to marry me. I'm only asking to go back with you, to take part in something that's decent and honest. After that, well, we'll take what comes.
You don't know what you're asking, Rose. It is not so simple as just going back.
What do you mean?
After today, Scotland Yard will be watching every ship leaving England. I can't book passage. I'll have to find some way to slip out of the country.
Well, Forbes can arrange that, too, after you get the diamonds.
Forbes and Brigstock brought the diamonds. A small package that meant life for at least a while longer to my country. They both seemed only embarrassed when I tried to thank them, and when they left, Rose went with them. They had not been gone long. There was a knock on the door. I hesitated to answer to it.
It's Brigstock, old boy. I say, let me in.
Mr. Brigstock, is something wrong?
Oh, not a thing, old boy. You know, it occurred to me that you're in a bit of a spot about getting out of the country. Now that you have the diamonds, an idea happily struck me, so I just nipped back.
You know how I can get away?
Quite. The perfect solution, old boy, is this.
A gun?
As sweet of you to recognize it. No, don't move. I assure you I'm an expert shot. Bullseye and all that sort of thing.
You're one of them.
In a manner of speaking, yes. You see, I'm one of the fortunate few who recognize that democracies are decadent. Too weak, you know. Nothing for me to do but work with other Johnnies who agree.
An Aryan world for all you Aryan supermen. Is that it?
You know, Rose has exquisite taste in love. It's a pity you'll have to bleed all over it.
You're quite insane, Brigstock.
Not at all. You see, people like you never have the brains to understand the glorious world that we are going to build. A world dedicated to joyful strength. Forbes. I say, most unfair. Oh, no.
They can never resist making speeches. I thought there was something suspicious about Brigstock leaving us so suddenly, so I followed him. However, there's no time to talk. You have to get out of here quickly.
Where shall I go?
I own a resort hotel near South Claw. I'll make a reservation for you, and tonight one of my men will pick you up there, put you on a freighter bound for your country.
Then Brigstock?
Brigstock is our problem. I'll give them a full report of it when I turn myself in, as I must do. Perhaps my trial will help my country as much as your escape will help yours.
I reached the hotel just as it was getting dark. The lobby was filled with men and women in shorts and jackets, all of them talking of sports. Surely no place was safer. I went over to buy a newspaper.
I say, don't I know you? Your face is familiar.
I don't believe so.
Foreigner, aren't you? Why, have it? Saw a photograph of you in the stock press edition of the Express.
I'm afraid you've made a mistake.
Can't get away from Scotland Yard. Best police force in the world. No, I remember. It was murder. Don't try to get away now. I shall take measures, you know.
I thought of making a run for it, but there was no use. The lobby was filled with people. I couldn't hold up all of them. My captain sent someone to call the police. We sat down and waited.
You foreigners aren't civilized, you know. Fellow told me when he was in Prague, he saw a chap shoot down a bobby right on the street. Can't do that sort of thing, you know.
Anyone in here by the name of...
Here we are. Are you the detective?
Detective? Why, yes.
Then here's your man.
Oh, I see. I have a warrant for your arrest, charging you... I know the charge, officer. Don't bother with it. Well, then, come along. No handcuffs? Oh, I don't think that will be necessary. I have a car right out here. Well, that was a close one. No you played along, or I wouldn't have been sure what the charges were. You mean you're not a detective? Heavens, no. Mr. Forbes didn't tell me the yard was in this. Oh, they weren't before. It was in the last edition of the paper. One man recognized me and called the police. It's lucky I came when I did, then. Very. Well, we'll be at the coast before they get a search underway. We reached the coast in half an hour, and I was hoisted over the side of a small freighter, like a piece of cargo. I stayed below until we were well underway and then went above. The deck was uncovered, and the wind whipped the sharp spray across my face. I could feel the pressure of the package of diamonds in my pocket. My mission was over, and I was on my way home. Yet I felt neither relief nor happiness. I had thought there was no room in my life for both war and love. But now that there was only war ahead, I felt empty. I stared off at the lights, glimmering somewhere far astern.
That would be Plymouth Hope.
Rose.
Oh, David.
Rose, no. Rose, no. This is not the time for tears.
When I was a little girl, someone told me that most men don't know what they want, so they make gestures. And Forbes said the same thing this afternoon. And so I decided not to waste time. And I made the decision for both of us.
Between Mr. Forbes and yourself, my darling, it seems everything has been taken care of.
Escape is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald. Today we have presented transcribed Confidential Agent by Graham Greene, adapted for radio by Ken Crossan, with editorial supervision by John Dunkel. Starred as David was Barry Kroger. Featured in the cast were Edgar Barrier, Constance Cavendish, Herb Butterfield, Farley Bear, Olive Deering, Ben Wright, Wilms Herbert, and Alec Harford. Special music was arranged and played by Ivan Detmar. Next week.
You are standing alone in a lonely canyon in the shadows of Superstition Mountain. While facing you, Timper's ragged, guns drawn, are three men who, at your first move toward hidden treasure, will shoot you dead.
Next week, we escape with Ralph Bates' unusual story, When the Man Comes, Follow Him. Be sure to tune in at the same time next week, when once again we offer you Escape. Tomorrow night on CBS is really something to talk about and listen to. Academy Award winner Jane Wyman on the CBS Family Hour of Stars. Ozzie and Harriet, Jack Benny, Amos and Andy, Sam Spade, and Lum and Abner. These are only a few of the great stars and shows which will come to you tomorrow night on most of these same CBS network stations. Jack Benny, of course, will be heard on the entire CBS network. This is Roy Rowan speaking. Now, stay tuned for 5 minutes of the latest news, to be followed by the Let's Pretend program over most of these same CBS network stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.